Let's get it. 580 Sports Talk is live and direct on a Wednesday. Happy Hump Day, one and all. Thanks for being here for the next 3 hours here on the Sports Voice of Kansas. 580 WIBW, FM 104.9, online at 580WIBW.com, and on our streaming video channels as well. WIBW News on Facebook, 580 Sports Talk on YouTube. However, wherever, whenever you're tuning into the program today, thank you so much for being a part of 580 Sports Talk. My name is Dan Lucero. Spencer Dupuy will be along in the 4 o'clock hour as well, with you until 6 o'clock, at which point we'll hand things off to the Royals Baseball Network for Game 2 of the 3-game series at Kauffman Stadium between the Royals and the Texas Rangers. Royals were winners last night, 5-3, looking for a third straight series win and a 7th win in their last 9 games if they can pick up another W tonight. Pre-game coverage at 6 o'clock. First pitch at 6:40 right here on 580 WIBW and FM 104.9. We had a fun 3 hours of sports talk before all that, though, featuring a couple of great guests as well. We will get to some Royals baseball. 5-3 winners last night. I told you those home runs for Jack Caglianone were coming, didn't I? About a week ago, maybe a week ago today, a week ago yesterday, I said, hey, look, power's still there. It's coming. The ball is going to start flying over the fence. Always happens in the month of June and July for the Royals. Even, I guess it happens proportionally to how much power is on the roster at a given time. And if you know your Royals history, this has not always been a roster laden with power hitters. But to the extent that there is power on the roster, to the extent that there are long ball threats on the roster in any given year, the ball really starts to fly in Kansas City in June and July. Again, we're relatively speaking here. The K doesn't turn into Coors Field Midwest or anything like that. But I told you the dingers were coming, and they came in twos for Jack last night, including another one off a lefty. I wonder if Matt Quatrero noticed. So we'll discuss that and everything else from last night. Also, one important factor that I think it feels like maybe a small thing in the grand scheme, but I think it goes a long way towards explaining a little part of why the Royals have started this month with a 6-2 record after last night's win. Of course, we'll preview tonight's game. Seth Lugo on the hill for Kansas City. Mackenzie Gore, the hard-throwing lefty, on the mound for the Rangers. Going to talk about the continuing developments today in the world of college sports. An open letter published by and signed by members of the National Association of Basketball Coaches. John Calipari, the author, Bill Self, one of, I believe it's 21 signees to the letter, advocating for Congress to pass the Protect College Sports Act, which is currently being put forth for debate. And it begs the question, could the fallout from the Brendan Sorsby decision and the disgust and the frustration that it has led to, and also the final and complete realization that the emperor has no clothes as it pertains to the NCAA, that their power is essentially nil. Could the fallout from that decision actually end up being the thing that saves, so to speak, the NCAA? I'm not talking about saving college sports. I'm on the record. I don't think college sports needs saving such as it is. But could the NCAA as a governing body, as the governing body in college sports, be saved? Could that be the lasting legacy of the injunction that Brendan Sorsby was granted earlier this week? Also, Kirby Hocutt, the athletic director at Texas Tech, who we really haven't heard from publicly, made a very lengthy statement today that was published to social media, and it is breathtaking in its cynicism. And I will explain why I feel that way about what I read from the athletic director at Texas Tech. We'll also continue our Chiefs countdown to kickoff. 96 days away from football at Arrowhead Stadium. That counts. The Chiefs and the Broncos, Monday Night Football, September 14th. We're 96 days away. So that's where we'll head on our countdown to Chiefs kickoff later on the show. I said we'd have two great guests today. Wednesday is Wildcat Wrap-Up Day on the program. For a second straight week, Tim Fitzgerald is on vacation. So for a second straight week, we've got Cole Carmody, the recruiting editor at GoPowerCat.com, set to join us. And a good time to talk to Cole because over the weekend, K-State locked up a commitment from the best player in the state of Kansas, Cooper Onmach from Great Bend. We'll get Cole's thoughts on Onmach as a prospect, what that commitment means for Kansas State, and also get his reaction to the first set of public SP Plus numbers from Bill Connolly of ESPN that say Kansas State is in line to be the fourth best team in the Big 12 this year. That might be higher than what you were expecting to hear. That might even be higher than what you were expecting to hear if you're a K-State diehard. But we'll get Cole's thoughts on that. Cole Carmody of GoPowerCat.com will join us at the bottom of the 4 o'clock hour for the Tall Grass Windows Indoors Wildcat Wrap-Up. And coming up here in about 20 minutes or so, we got a special treat for you. The World Cup starts tomorrow, and we could not let a momentous occasion in the beautiful game, El Juego Bonito, soccer, pass us by without bringing back a former 580 WIBW staffer. He's the Senior Director of Media and Business Operations at TruMedia Sports. If you're watching a nationally televised soccer game, chances are he's done the research for it. He is the guru of minutia. His name is Paul Carr, and we're thrilled to have Paul join us in this hour of 580 Sports Talk to preview the 2026 World Cup, which, again, starts tomorrow. While we're working, 2 o'clock, first game of the World Cup. Do y'all know what the first game of the World Cup is? I didn't. I had to look it up today. It's Mexico and South Africa. But the first game is tomorrow, 2 o'clock Central Time. You can knock off of work early, get down to the bar, get yourself a pint. Celebrate appropriately and responsibly. But we'll get Paul Carr's thoughts. We could not have a World Cup without hearing from Paul Carr. Just not really thinkable. So Paul Carr will be our guest here later on in this 3 o'clock hour. And, of course, we'll have plenty of room for our typical Wednesday fun on the program. We'll play a round of One Gotta Go. We got 580 Sports Talk headlines, including a playoff roundup, and another round of What Is Wrong With You as well. Want to hear from you on the program today? The text line is open. 785-272-9429 is the number. That is 785-272-9429. You can also interact in the live chat on our YouTube channel. Name of the channel is 580 Sports Talk. Go subscribe to the channel if you've yet to do so. And hop in the live chat. Interact with your fellow listeners and help grow the 580 Sports Talk community in that 580 Sports Talk YouTube chat. See Christopher, Vance, Andrew, Paul, Mark H. Ryan's in the chat today. Good to see you. Joe as well. Good to see everybody. Always happy to see a vibrant 580 Sports Talk chat on a day in, day out basis. And I hope you will join it today over on our YouTube channel, 580 Sports Talk. And I hope that you will answer the question of the day today, which will be World Cup related, because I am genuinely curious about this. Are you excited about the World Cup? And I'm not asking that in an accusatory way, that there's a wrong answer. I'm not suggesting there is a wrong answer, whether you are excited or whether you are not excited. I am just curious, and I would love to hear. Are you excited? Are you not excited? Are you more excited because it's local, because it's in the United States, because there are games in Kansas City? Are you going? Did you pay an arm and a leg for tickets? I definitely want to hear from you if you're going to one of the games. Or do you not care at all? Are you like I used to be and just think soccer's a gigantic waste of time? I have had my mind changed over years. My opinions on soccer have evolved. But I'm not here to judge. I'm just here asking the question. Are you excited about the World Cup? And if so, why? And if not, why not? 785-272-9429, or you can hop into the live chat on our YouTube channel, 580 Sports Talk. Again, no wrong answer to the question. I'm asking out of genuine curiosity to the audience. That's our question of the day today. All right, let's jump into it with some baseball. Royals 5, Rangers 3 last night at Kauffman Stadium. That's 6 out of 8 for the boys in blue. And a lot to like about last night, starting with the big man, Jack Caglianone. You don't really appreciate, I think, how big he is until he's the one doing the interview post game with, oh gosh, I've forgotten her name already. Howard. Is it Brittany? It's not Brittany Howard, is it? I've forgotten her name on the spot here, and I feel terrible about that. But the dugout reporter for the Royals doing the interview last night, and Jack's big, man. Like Salvi, I think, is still bigger, but Jack's big dude. Big dude, big power, and he hit 2 tanks last night, giving him now 8 on the season. And I would be lying if I said I hate to say I told you so. I love to say I told you so. I don't often get them right. So when I do, I love to remind you that, hey, I was ahead of the curve on this one. We spoke last week after Caglianone homered in Cincinnati that there are still a lot of really positive indicators. And if Jack Caglianone can start hitting the ball in the air to the pull side more often, the home runs are going to come. Well, where did both of those home runs go last night? Far, first of all, 421 feet on the first, 431 feet on the second, but also pull side home runs, right field and right center field. That second home run, notably, came on the first pitch he saw on a left-handed reliever out of the bullpen. Jalen Beeks thought he'd throw a changeup and threw it in a really bad spot, up and in. And one thing is for certain about Jack Caglianone. If you're a lefty and you come up and in on him, you're going to have a bad time. Those seem to be the pitches that he hits a real long way. And it's so fascinating that he homered in that spot because, granted, it's the 6th inning, right? But that has been a spot, because there were runners on base and the Royals are trying to extend a lead, that has been a spot where Matt Quatraro has gone to the bench and gone to Lane Thomas as a pinch hit option for Caglianone to get the platoon advantage. And this time, and maybe it's because the Royals were leading, you've seen it more often, maybe later in games when the Royals are really chasing runs. But in this scenario, the Royals were ahead and were leading 3-2. All right, Jack, give it a rip against the left-hander. He gave it a rip. Honest to goodness, off the bat, I don't even think Caglianone knew how good he got it because he came flying out of the batter's box, and that was a waste of energy for the first 90 feet or so because that ball landed in the fountains, 431 feet away in right center field. And so it is that entering play today, Jack Caglianone, who couldn't buy a start against the left-handed pitcher all season, has a higher slugging percentage against left-handers than he does against right-handers. He's now slugging .444 with 3 home runs against lefties. Obviously, a much smaller sample size here. And it's not a huge difference. It's a .441 slugging percentage against right-handed pitching. But it is notable that Jack Caglianone, who the Royals have been hiding from left-handed pitching for the better part of the year, now has a higher slugging percentage against left-handers than he does against right-handers. And, oh, hey, would you look at that against a left-hander tonight? Guess who's in the lineup batting 7th in right field? It's Jack Caglianone. Given the chance to prove himself, what a shock. The kid drafted in the top 10 of the Major League Baseball draft proved himself. What do you know? But more impressive, I shouldn't say more impressive than the home runs, because the home runs were pretty awesome. And they were prodigious drives, like no doubters off the bat. But as impressive, we're talking about Jack Caglianone growing into being a big league hitter, not just a power guy. I still think this is a guy with tremendous power potential who's going to hit a lot of home runs in this Royals lineup. But can he be productive when the ball isn't leaving the park? That's going to be the big question for Jack Caglianone. Listen, Joey Gallo played the major leagues for a really long time. Teams wanted him. Teams went and traded for him, even though he struck out a lot, well over 30% of the time, because he had that kind of power. And I think Caglianone's power is comparable to a guy like Joey Gallo's power. I do. I think it's top of the scale power that Caglianone has. But can he help you if the ball doesn't go over the fence? Can he provide some gap to gap? Can he get on base? And the postgame show last night, if you were watching on television, rightly pointed out all of his at-bats last night, starting with his at-bat in the 2nd inning, because Nathan Eovaldi, first and second time through the order, was really sharp, right? He didn't allow a hit in the first 5 innings, but he did have a walk. and it was to Jack Caglianone after an 11-pitch at bat. And that kind of at bat is the sign of Caglianone's maturity as a hitter. If you were wanting to see this young man develop as a complete hitter, or as close to complete, because I don't think he's a guy who's going to hit 330 and win batting titles. Okay. When you talk about a complete hitter, I think Bobby Witt Jr. is much more of what you think. A guy who can win a batting title, but can also hit you 30 home runs. I think Caglianone's best seasons are probably going to look better than Witt from a power perspective and a little worse from a batting average perspective. I think that's the kind of hitter Caglianone winds up even in a best case scenario. But part of that is being able to not make outs. Like, what's the most valuable thing you can do as a hitter? However you do it, don't make an out. And sometimes that means watching ball four, grinding out a long at bat and watching ball four. Is it as satisfying, as fun to watch, as immediately productive as a home run? No. But it's an integral part of learning how to be a mainstay in a major league lineup. And Caglianone is learning and growing, and we're watching it happen. And he has been red hot. And any scenario where the Royals are really going to play their way back into playing any kind of meaningful baseball includes Jack Caglianone doing some serious damage in this Royals order. So that was fun about last night. Also fun, the work of the bullpen. Am I really saying that? 4 strong from the Royals relief corps. Stephen Kolek wasn't real good last night. Wasn't real sharp, I guess I should say, but did well to limit damage. Steven Cruz looked terrific for an inning and a third. Daniel Lynch gave up an unfortunate run. I think it should be changed to an unearned run. It might have already been changed to an unearned run because that was a single that Jock Peterson hit that Cags wasn't all roses for Cags last night. Played into a triple that allowed a run to score on an RBI groundout. But it was a well-deployed bridge to the 9th inning last night between Cruz and then Lynch against the lefties at the top of the order, and then John Schreiber for 2 no-stress outs to finish off the 8th. And Alex Lang is beginning to take ownership of the 9th inning. He's never going to throw enough strikes to make you real comfortable. I think the folks at Royals Review on social media have coined the term, or maybe they didn't coin it, but I've seen it from them, so maybe they cribbed it from a reader, but it's brilliant. Langxiety. That's what we're calling the 9th inning now for the Royals, as long as Alex Lang and his 5.5 walks per 9 are in that closer role. It's a bout of Langxiety, hoping you can get those final 3 outs. But you know what helps cure Langxiety? Strikeouts. And that's the thing that Lang can do better than anybody other than Cruz in the bullpen. And obviously, Cruz has had his own issues as a young pitcher that he's still trying to work through. But Lang can miss bats. He got 2 big strikeouts with the tying run at the plate and a run in scoring position there with 1 out to end the ball game. And that's a big deal for me, that imperfect though he may be, Alex Lang is getting the job done in the 9th inning. The Royals are handing leads to Lang, and they are shaking hands when they do. And I think this was a team through the ups and downs of the first 2 months of this season, mostly downs, and the struggles of Lucas Erceg in the 9th inning, the uncertainty around his level of performance on a game-to-game basis. I think the Royals were a team that lacked a little bit of confidence that they were going to win, because even if they got to the final 3 outs, how comfortable were those outs? I don't know that they're a whole lot more comfortable with Lang because his command is just so iffy, but he's getting the job done right now. And I think that has contributed, not just in a, well, no, duh, he's getting the job done, he's getting the saves instead of blowing the saves, but I think that there's a level of stability that Lang's performance has brought to the bullpen that has helped the entire bullpen, and I think lifted the confidence of the ball club a little bit. This is a team, these Royals, that understand that whether or not they are going to be buyers or sellers at the trade deadline is entirely up to them. They go 27 games this month. And I said they had to go 18-9 to even consider whether they should be a buyer, to even have that thought. Well, 6-2, 12 more wins in, let me do the math on that. Can they go 12-7 the rest of the month? They do. They'll have hit my benchmark. Maybe yours is higher. Maybe mine should be higher. But it's up to the Royals. They're the ones playing the games. And we can be honest. Not all of it is crisp right now. The Royals allowed a run to score on an error. It was terrible baseball. It was the number 8 hitter on base with 2 out and the 9-hole hitter at the plate. And Kolek made a throwing error on a pickoff move, and Carter Jensen made a throwing error on a throw down to third trying to steal the base. And out of nothing, the Rangers were able to score a run and take what at the time was a 2-0 lead. That's bad baseball. There's still too many moments like that for the Royals to give you a whole lot of confidence that this has been a really good baseball team in hiding for the first 2 months. But the results are what they are. The results have been a lot more positive. And if the Royals can build another long stretch of winning baseball, which they have been able to do in the last 2 seasons with this core group of players, then they can start to have that conversation. J.J. Piccolo was quoted by Ann Rogers today. If you get the newsletter, the MLB.com Royals newsletter, you saw this in your inbox today. But J.J. Piccolo talking about the trade deadline, and this was the last thought that he had that Rogers concluded the newsletter with. I just don't know if other teams are going to be willing to talk about those things, meaning trades at this point. The only teams right now that might be more willing than others are teams that are clearly out of it, and there's so few of them. The rest of them are thinking a lot like we are. Why not us? Why not make a run for 6 weeks and see where you are come the end of July? Long as CAG stays hot, and as long as the anxiety levels are kept low enough in the 9th, well, the way they've started this month, they've earned the right to think that way. We'll take a break. We'll get some reaction from you, 785-272-9429 on the text line or, of course, in the live chat on our YouTube 580 Sports Talk. Paul Carr coming up in about 7 or 8 minutes to talk World Cup with us. We got Cole Carmody of GoPowerCat.com in the 4 o'clock hour. Lots of great stuff coming up for you today. Glad you're along for the ride on 580 Sports Talk. .30 on 580 Sports Talk. We're just getting started on this Wednesday afternoon. Have some breaking Chiefs and Royals news during that commercial break. And we'll get to the Chiefs stuff in greater detail later on. The Kansas City Chiefs are adding 2 years to Patrick Mahomes' contract. I think they call that a contract extension, but that's Adam Schefter's wording. Ties into Kansas City through the 2033 season. The total value of the contract now $504.75 million, making it the first NFL deal valued at over $500 million. So it's an addition to the contract that he signed back in 2020, that 10-year, $450 million extension. The new money is worth $239.05 million from Mahomes. The first 4 years are guaranteed at signing. So the next 4 years, 2026 through 2029, are guaranteed at signing, and all of the money becomes guaranteed through contract mechanisms. All that verbiage makes my eyes roll back in my head, but we'll get it figured out. We'll sort it out, and we'll discuss it a little bit more later on the show. There's also some Royals news. They've made a transaction today. If you were watching the game last night, Kyle Isbell left the game, appeared to suffer an injury running the bases. It is a plantar fasciitis injury in his left foot. He has been placed on the 10-day injured list. Typically, an injury like that's a lot longer than 10 days. It wiped out Lane Thomas's season last year when he was playing for Cleveland. So it could be a long time, unfortunately, before we see Kyle Isbell again, hoping for a speedy recovery for the Royals center fielder. In his place, being recalled to the 26-man roster, is Cameron Meisner, who made his major league debut last season with the Tampa Bay Rays. Or rather in 2024, with the Rays. Played 71 games with the Rays last year. Has had a good year at AAA Omaha. 28 years old, can play center field. He's a local, Poplar Bluff High School and University of Missouri. And so far in Omaha this year, hitting .276 with a .920 OPS, 15 doubles, 13 home runs, 11 stolen bases in 12 tries. His big league record doesn't suggest much, but I would imagine he'll get a crack, not tonight against a left-hander, but I would imagine he would get a crack against right-handed pitching in center field instead of Lane Thomas, just because Thomas isn't quite the defender that Meisner can be. So that is the Royals roster move today. And yeah, unfortunate for Kyle Isbell for sure. Speaking of the Royals, a couple quick Royals hitters here. Christopher, the Bard, weighing in on last night's game. There once was a fella named Jack who gave him a really good whack. Don't hang him a sweeper. He'll hit it deeper. So far, it will never come back. Well done, Christopher, as always. Carl asks how I feel about Bobby Witt's MVP odds now that Aaron Judge is injured. Should feel pretty good since Yordan Alvarez is a DH. Yordan Alvarez might win the Triple Crown. And we've done this. I remember, I'm old enough to remember the year that Mike Trout was a lot more valuable than Miguel Cabrera, but Miguel Cabrera won the Triple Crown, so Miguel Cabrera won the MVP. Difference there is that Cabrera did at least play a position where with Alvarez, he's not adding anything with the glove because he's strictly a DH. I do think that matters, certainly when it comes to the measure of player value. But that being said, a Triple Crown, really, really rare feat. Bobby Witt Jr. leads all American League players in wins above replacement. He's been the best defensive player in the league by some measure, regardless of position. I think the offensive numbers are going to start to tick up for him again. He's been in a little bit of a mini funk lately, but I think he'll largely be fine. It's his to lose. I really feel that way. It is Bobby Witt Jr.'s MVP award to lose at this point. Thank you for the question, Carl. Again, our question of the day today, how excited are you or not for the upcoming World Cup? Text it in, 785-272-9429. You can drop it in the live chat as well, 580 Sports Talk on YouTube. I want to know your excitement level because Paul Carr's excitement level is on 10, and he joins us after this timeout to preview World Cup 2026 with us on 580 Sports Talk. 3:37 on 580 Sports Talk on this Wednesday afternoon. We are less than 24 hours from the start of the 2026 World Cup, co-hosted by the United States, Mexico, and Canada. Mexico and South Africa will kick off the proceedings at 2 o'clock Central tomorrow. And we could not herald the start of a World Cup without hearing from Paul Carr, formerly of 580 WIBW. He's now the Senior Director of Media and Business Operations at TruMedia Sports, as well as a soccer researcher for, among other places, TNT, Fox, and CBS. He is our guru of minutia, and he joins us on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits Hotline. Paul, are you about, I think you're roughly around my age or thereabouts. Is the 1994 World Cup, the last time it was here, is that the first World Cup you kind of remember?
Yeah, yes and yes. Yeah, that was the last Men's World Cup that was here. And really, the first one I remember watching for sure was, I grew up playing soccer like, most kids. So I was, 10 or 11 or 12 or something like that. That was the first soccer I remember watching. Because remember, like, MLS didn't exist yet. You really couldn't watch, say, the Premier League or any European matches without some work. Like, you need a giant satellite dish or something. So that was my intro to soccer, and it kind of planted the seed that set me on the trajectory to where I am now.
It was my intro as well. I was 8 years old and just threw myself into learning everything about the sport. And I joined a youth soccer team, and something very tragic happened in the process of me joining that, is that I learned that I really sucked at soccer. I was probably the worst 8-year-old soccer player in Aurora, Colorado, and maybe by extension, the entire United States. So I wrote the whole sport off as a waste of time for the better part of the next 16 years before having a change of heart in adulthood. And that's how we got to where we are today. The World Cup is here in 2026, and there's a lot around this World Cup, as there is around every World Cup, that has maybe made some people reevaluate their relationship to the event, their excitement about the event. But once we get on the field, once we see Lionel Messi or Cristiano Ronaldo or any of the greats that are going to take the field in this World Cup, that stuff tends to take a back seat to the beautiful game. So as we begin this World Cup in less than 24 hours, what are you most fascinated by from an on-field perspective when it comes to this World Cup?
I mean, to me, it's kind of it's a question that has been in almost every World Cup for the past 2 decades. Like, who might be able to break through? There have only been 8 countries that ever won the World Cup. Spain was the last new one to do it in 2010. So it's, could Portugal finally put all this talent together? Could the Dutch, who have, had a couple runner-up, 3 runner-up finishes, could they maybe find a way through? Or is it going to be one of the other 8 teams? And even if it is, England hasn't won a World Cup since 1966. And if they were to come do it on U.S. soil, from an American perspective, I'm not sure we want that, but it would be a great story. France has been at the last 2 finals. Are they going to get through and win a title for Didier Deschamps, the coach who's leaving after this tournament? So all those top teams have storylines. Argentina, is Messi gonna, is he gonna win the World Cup in his last tournament again? We thought it was 4 years ago. Brazil has a lot of question marks. They're still Brazil. So all those top teams, they all have questions of different varieties, and it's going to be fun to see it play out on the field.
Paul Carr is our guest here on 580 Sports Talk, joining us on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits Hotline. Paul Carr of TruMedia Sports and soccer researcher for TNT, Fox, and CBS. You mentioned that it is kind of a closed system when it comes to World Cup winners. There have only been 8 nations who've ever won a World Cup. And for some of them, you got to go like way, way back. You got to go back to the original one for Uruguay, right? You got to go back to, I think it's 66 for England. So it's been a long time for some of those countries who've actually won it. How large is the group of teams, in your mind, that can realistically win in what is, for the first time, a 48-team World Cup?
Yeah, I mean, it's really still this. It's almost the same group. If you're not a big soccer fan, but you come into World Cups, you can probably still kind of list off, okay, who's going to win the tournament. You can list off the favorites because it's still, Spain, France, England. Portugal is maybe higher than they usually are. Brazil, Argentina, Germany. So that's 7. And then you could throw in, Netherlands maybe to get it to 8. And then you're in the more of the, you call them kind of a mid-major from a soccer standpoint. You're Norway, Colombia, maybe Belgium, Morocco type of teams. So really, you're looking at like 8. If it's not one of those top 8, it'd be a pretty huge upset, pretty big story. But yeah, one of those 8, and most of them have won it before.
A lot of those teams will consider not winning the World Cup to be a failure. But which team in your mind is the favorite? The team you feel like has the strongest chance, whether it's because of the talent on hand, whether it's because their run of form coming into the Cup, whether it's their tactical abilities, or whether it's the group that they're in making it kind of an easy road. Who do you like at the top of the list of the teams that you really feel like ought to win this thing?
Yeah, I mean, Spain and France are the top 2. For me, of those 2, I take France. I do think Spain may have a little more upside, but France has a much higher floor. They have probably the best collection of talent in the world. I mean, you could make a second team out of France that isn't even at the World Cup, and they'd probably be favored to make at least the quarterfinals. They're that good and deep. France has the best collection of attackers in the world, probably, with Kylian Mbappe and Michael Olise from Bayern, who has been great at the club level, maybe not as known globally yet. This could be a big breakout tournament for him. But they also have a defensive-minded coach who will kind of keep things close to the vest as long as he can before letting the offense rip. We saw in the 22 final where they did nothing for 80 minutes against Argentina, then finally kind of opened up and got a couple goals and almost won the thing in extra time. So I think they can beat you different ways. They can beat you in attack. They can play solid defense. I think Spain's a little bit looser, which again gives them a higher ceiling but a lower floor. So France is a team. You make me pick a team. France is the one I'm looking at.
Paul Carr joining us here on 580 Sports Talk to preview the 2026 World Cup, joining us on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits Hotline. Let's talk about the hosts, the good old USA. This is, by some measure, it almost gets taken for granted at this point. Because, I mean, if you go as far back as you do, you remember when the United States' best players were guys who could kind of hack it on the club level, right, in the elite of the worldwide club soccer scene, the Premier League or the big leagues in France or Italy. You'd have a Landon Donovan who was kind of a Premier League player, or a Clint Dempsey who could do okay over there. Now this is a U.S. men's national team full of guys who are all first choice for their teams in the Premier League or the Bundesliga in Germany or Ligue 1 in France. This is a team that is more talented than any United States men's national team you could argue ever. So why aren't the vibes better around this team? Why doesn't it feel like they are more capable of making the kind of run that we have seen host nations make in the World Cup in the history of the event?
Yeah, it's been a weird, whenever you're the host, it's a weird run up to the World Cup because you don't qualify. You get an automatic berth. You're not playing those crucial matches. You're not kind of forging your team in the crucible of qualifying, as Tom Rinaldi would say. So they haven't had that. So they've had this year and a half since their coach Mauricio Pochettino was hired, where they're just playing friendlies, and they're playing really good friendlies. The last 11 opponents are all at the World Cup. But some of those results have just not been great. March, they got smoked, especially in the second half, by Belgium and Portugal. And those results, I think, were a little unkind to the U.S. I think they played a little better than that. But I think that put a little bit of a damper on things. And some of these guys, Christian Pulisic hadn't scored since December until he got one against Senegal a week or two ago. So, one of your best players have been kind of scuffling for club and country. So all that kind of added up to, I think, people being a little bit down on them.
Who would you say is the most important, or the 2 or 3 most important American players for the team's success at this World Cup? Seems that we may have lost Paul Carr. We'll try and reconnect with him. We'll take a quick timeout. We'll reconnect with Paul Carr, and we'll continue our preview of the 2026 World Cup with the guru of minutia after this. We welcome you back to 580 Sports Talk. It's 3:47 on this Wednesday edition of the program. We continue our conversation with Paul Carr, who is the senior director of both media and business operations for TruMedia Sports, and we call him the guru of minutia around these parts. Paul, we were talking about the U.S. men's national team heading into this World Cup. Who are the 2 or 3 most important guys for this U.S. men's national team? Obviously, Christian Pulisic is one. You mentioned him. But who are the other guys who are going to be really important to this team's success in this World Cup?
So I think number one might be Chris Richards. So he would have made the 22 World Cup team, but he got hurt that fall right before the tournament. He is the number one defender on this team, and he's a little bit of a question mark because he hurt his ankle about a little less than a month ago with his English club, Crystal Palace. So he may not start tomorrow or Friday, rather, against Paraguay. But if they're going to, fight off like Turkey in the last game of the group or, slightly better team, they're going to need Chris Richards playing at his best because center back is a little bit of a position of weakness for the U.S. So he's probably number one on this guy needs to be healthy and this guy needs to play well for the U.S. to go far.
What do you think is the ceiling, realistically, for the United States in this tournament? They're in a group that it looks on paper like they ought to be able to qualify through, if not win outright. But how far can they realistically go in the knockout rounds? And what ultimately would be the reason that they were to meet their demise when they run into some of the better teams later on?
Yeah, I think par is reaching the round of 16. And remember, there's a round of 32 this year in the expanded tournament. So getting to the round of 16 means you've won or advanced in a knockout game, which the U.S. hasn't done since the 2002 World Cup when they beat Mexico in Korea, Japan. So getting to the round of 16, I think, is par because, like you said, they're in a very manageable group. There's no traditional power in this group. Now, there aren't any terrible teams either. But the U.S. is still the best or maybe slightly behind Turkey from a pure quality standpoint. And then obviously the U.S. is playing at home, which gives them a little bit of a nudge. So you should win the group or finish second. Either one of those spots probably puts you against a team you should beat or are roughly even with in the round of 32. Get to that, you're in the round of 16, and then you're starting to run to the big boys probably. So, I mean, could the U.S. win another knockout game or even 2 beyond that? Absolutely possible. I wouldn't say it's likely. You get to the quarterfinals, I would say the tournament is a complete success. You get to the round of 16, you're looking at par. Anything worse than that's going to be a disappointment.
Paul Carr is our guest, joining us on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits hotline here on 580 Sports Talk. As we mentioned a couple of times, this is the biggest World Cup ever from a number of nations qualified standpoint. FIFA expanding the tournament from 32 teams to 48 teams. Do you think this is a net positive or negative for the tournament?
I don't mind having more teams, although I don't like having to research more teams. But the 48-team format, I think, is terrible because you get third-place teams advancing from 4-team groups, so you lose a lot of the jeopardy in those games. And just from a competitive standpoint, since 8 of 12 third-place teams advance, the teams that play their third game first don't know what they have to do to advance. The teams that play the third game last, so groups J and K, will know exactly what they have to do to be one of those best third-place teams, for example. So having third-place teams advance is never a good thing when you have 14 groups. So from that standpoint, I don't like it at all. It's always fun to see new blood, new faces in. We've got 4 teams that have never been here before, a couple more ending 52-year droughts. So that part is fun and the excitement and all that sort of stuff. But the competitive format of a 48-team tournament, I think, is awful.
You talked earlier about your favorites. You think France and Spain are the 2 best teams in this tournament. Who do you like as a potential sleeper, a team that might fit the bill of a Croatia from 2 World Cups ago when they popped up in the final there in 2018 in Russia? Yep. Who might be the team that makes a surge and makes a surprise run outside of that established hierarchy of soccer nations?
Yeah, I'll give you a couple. I'll give you one from South America. I'll give you Colombia. A lot of attacking talent. Luis Diaz plays for Bayern Munich. He's their best player, but he's got plenty of support there as well. So a lot of opportunity to score, a lot of good players there. I think they could make a run. They've got a group game in Miami against Portugal in the group finale. That might be the wildest party that we're going to have in the group stage here. So I like Colombia as the best second-tier South American team to go far. I think Japan could make some noise. 4 years ago, they beat Spain, they beat Germany in the group stage and went on through before they went out on penalties to Croatia, I think. They got guys all over Europe. This is not the kind of gentle, fragile Japan team that's a stereotype. This is, they're physical. They can press you. They can run with you. A lot of good players on this Japan team. I think they could surprise as well. So Colombia, Japan, a couple of the second, maybe third tier teams that I like.
The best player at the tournament 4 years ago in Qatar was Lionel Messi. Improbably,
Yep.
He might be the best player in this tournament, too.
Yeah.
Is he still like the guy who is not just the must-see attraction, but also the guy who might have the most to say about from an individual standpoint about who wins this tournament?
Definitely the first one. He's definitely still, the number one star for ranking star power at this tournament. He's 39, so he's not as good as he was. Breaking news, getting older on the field. And I don't think he's as critical to Argentina's success. Especially in a tournament that's expanded where there's a whole additional game, they may try to rest him an entire group game or give him only 15 minutes here or there when they can get away with it. So I don't know if he has the capability of being the best player in general at the tournament. Maybe still the most important, though, because he still does kind of give Argentina that extra level that they may or may not have without him. So, yeah, I wouldn't expect him to be the best player again, but he's definitely the biggest star and still a crucial component of what Argentina can do.
Last question for you, Paul Carr of TruMedia Sports. If you were going to direct a soccer casual or somebody who has not really seen or been into or followed a World Cup, if you were going to direct them to one group stage match and say, you're going to watch this for 2 hours, and when it's over, you're going to get it. The whole thing, the pageantry of the World Cup, but also the game itself, the best showcase of the game in the group stage. What would that be in your mind?
Yeah, a couple options. I mentioned that Colombia-Portugal game, which is going to be in Miami, which there's a lot of Colombians down there. It's going to be a party. I think that would be number one on my list because it's be rocking. It's probably going to be, the winner wins the group, which will give them a softer knockout stage draw. That would be number one on my list. Number two is France and Norway. This is also a group finale. It's the day before. It's in Boston. You have France, one of the favorites with Kylian Mbappe, who's at his third World Cup, and against Norway, which hasn't been in a World Cup since '98, but they have Erling Haaland, who people might recognize even if they don't know the name. He's the big blonde striker for Manchester City, who looks kind of like a Viking, and he's from Norway, so it all adds up. So those are the two marquee group games that I would point people to. They're not till the end of the group stage, but those are the two big ones.
Paul Carr will be doing some major research on the tournament. You can go read his power ranking of all 48 teams in the tournament, from France all the way down to Jordan, over at Yahoo Sports. He is the senior director of media and business operations at TruMedia Sports. You're going to want to follow him on X if you're on X during the tournament, at Paul Carr. He is our guru of minutia here on 580 Sports Talk. Paul, it was a joy, as I knew it would be. Thanks so much, and enjoy the World Cup, and we'll have to have you on maybe during the tournament as well.
Absolutely. Thanks, Dan.
That is Paul Carr. Man, always great to talk about him. It's always great to talk about anybody who has passion for their subject. Paul Carr has passion for soccer. Let me tell you what. You don't get to have the career that he's had and get to do the cool stuff that he's done without having a real passion for the subject. So always enjoy talking to Paul, really about anything, but about soccer as well. So maybe that got you fired up for the World Cup. Maybe that changes your answer to our question of the day today. But I want to hear from you. How excited or not are you for the 2026 World Cup, which again starts tomorrow and will feature games played not far from here in Kansas City at that famous stadium we all know, Kansas City Stadium. Text your answer, 785-272-9429. That's 785-272-9429. Can also drop your answer into the live chat on YouTube at 580 Sports Talk. And we'll get to some of your answers on the other side of our upcoming break, because we got to step aside for the end of this 3 o'clock hour. In the 4 o'clock hour, Kirby Hocutt, the athletic director at Texas Tech, has made a statement that is breathtaking in its cynicism. I'll tell you why. Plus, an open letter from college basketball coaches signed, including by Bill Self, supporting the Protect College Sports Act. We'll get there. We'll talk to Cole Carmody of GoPowerCat.com, part of the 24/7 Sports Network, for the Tall Grass Windows Indoors Wildcat Wrap-Up. And we've got What Is Wrong With You coming up in the next hour of the program as well. So stick and stay with us through this timeout and the news. We got more 580 Sports Talk coming up.
fundamentally unfair that the league should get billion-dollar deals, the network should get billion-dollar contracts, but the fans are left out in the cold.
admissions at bofA.com/gamechangers. Bank of America, official bank of the FIFA World Cup 2026.
Here's your updated WIBW forecast from the Certified Transmission Weather Center.
A tornado watch continues. Mainly clear sky at 7 p.m. with a slight chance of thunderstorms. High of 94. Wind from the southwest, 10 to 20 miles an hour. Current cloudy tonight, chance of thunderstorms. Low 50 about 72. Wind clear tomorrow. Slight chance of storms. Daytime highs approaching 91. I'm staff meteorologist Ray Miller. Currently 90.
Stay connected with the voice of Kansas, WIBW.
Let's get it. Hour number 2 of 580 Sports Talk on this hump day afternoon. Dan Lucero, Spencer Dupuis with you here on the Sports Voice of Kansas, 580 WIBW, FM 104.9, online at 580WIBW.com, and in living color on our YouTube channel, 580 Sports Talk, and our Facebook page, WIBW News. Great to be along with you on this Wednesday. Again, we're with you until 6 o'clock tonight. We'll pass the baton to the Royals Baseball Network for Game 2 of 3 between the Royals and the Rangers at the K. Royals going for a third straight series win. They can win tonight.
Wait, you're telling me they're playing like above 500 baseball lately?
6-2 in their last day in the month of June. The boys are playing some ball, as has been heard a time or two around these parts. Royals will send Seth Lugo to the mound. Mackenzie Gore goes for the Rangers. 6 o'clock pregame, 6:40 first pitch here on 580 WIBW and FM 104.9.
You mentioned Mackenzie Gore. I screwed the pooch the last time the Royals and the Rangers went down in Texas, and Mackenzie Gore. I said Mackenzie Gore was trash on the air, and I think he went out and had like 6 innings and gave up like
11 strikeouts or something like that. He was really good. Yeah. That was it was that Friday night game, so I wasn't around for that show.
Yeah, I said that on the air with Brendan, and I could not be more wrong.
Well, Royals will try and get him a second time when they face him tonight at Kauffman Stadium. Want to hear from you on the program today? Text line 785-272-9429. YouTube live chat 580 Sports Talk. Question of the day today. Are you excited or not for the World Cup, which again begins in 22 hours in Mexico? Mexico and South Africa kick off the 2026 World Cup. You excited or not, and why? 785-272-9429 or the live chat on YouTube. We'll get to some of your responses here. First from the live chat, Vance says he is mildly interested in this year's World Cup. Mark H. says, love the World Cup. I'm jazzed for it. Ryan says, once every 4 years, I act like a soccer expert for a month. I respect that. Andrew says, I'll watch some games, including the championship. Wouldn't say I'm excited. I'm more locked in on NBA and NHL championships right now. Carl, on the flip side of things, in the live chat on YouTube, says, not excited for the World Cup because the U.S. sucks at soccer. I think a lot of this area is tuned out of soccer, although it will be fun to watch and highly competitive. So fun to watch, but not excited. Flipping over to the text line and seeing what those folks have to say. From 785, not really a soccer fan, but it is neat that it is here in Kansas City. Another one from the 785, the crew out at Mission Creek Township. What's up? Appreciate hearing from those folks out in Wabunsee County. They say, we can't afford it, so nobody's going to the matches. But we'll listen with interest if you guys highlight it on the show. World Cup Roundup? Cup Roundup?
I guess.
World Cup Roundup? We got to, right?
Yeah. I'm personally not a World Cup guy, so you're going to have to pull all the weight on this, man. Because I know nothing about soccer, which is funny because in high school I worked at a soccer park, and I was a manager at a soccer park for 3 years.
What did managing a soccer park entail?
It meant having to run the concession stand and stock the concession stand, order for the concession stand.
So it wasn't like you were...
a little bit more. It meant configuring the fields.
Okay, like scheduling? Or
no, like, we've got youth soccer running half fields. We got to move the benches from the sides to the middle. We got like high school age U18, U16, U17. They got full field. We got to move everything off the side and move the goals. And,
Sure.
Yeah. It was a lot of moving goals and moving benches.
Yeah, another answer here from the 316 says, I don't care at all about soccer. I played as a kid, but I couldn't tell you how many players are on a team. I understand that soccer is one of those sports that maybe you play as a kid, but it doesn't hold you as an adult, because I was very nearly one of those people. I joked about it with Paul Carr. And our thanks again to the guru of minutia, Paul Carr, for joining us here on today's 580 Sports Talk in the 3 o'clock hour of the show. But
he seems like he's got a gushy gig.
It's a cool job this time every 4 years, that's for sure.
I just didn't know what he did, and he's like on their website. So like, he's got a big time.
Paul Carr is a big deal. Carr is a big deal. Formerly of 580 WIBW. So, but talking to Paul about it, and I joked about it, and I don't know. I'm sure, again, like I said, I've been on this show almost 10 years now, so there's a lot of recycled material. But maybe you don't listen every day, so maybe you haven't heard the story of my youth soccer career, because I, like a lot of people, got really excited about the World Cup in 1994. That's the first one I remember. It was also the first time it was in the United States. So it's this big deal that this sport, the world's game, was coming to the United States at a time when the United States didn't have, like, Major League Soccer didn't exist. You had I think it was called the A-League or something like that, because I vaguely remember a team called the Colorado Foxes getting a little bit of local coverage in the Denver area when I was a kid. Anyhow, so I'm 8 years old, 7 really for the summer, and it's this new thing that I don't know anything about, but it's sports. And so 7-year-old me, it's sports, I'm with it. So I dove in head first. I wanted to learn everything there was about soccer. I checked out all the soccer books I could from the library. I collected the trading cards. I tried to watch the matches. This is all much to the chagrin of my father, a lifelong hater of the sport of soccer. So I did. I threw myself into it as a 7 and 8-year-old. And when I was 8, I think it was that fall, I had the chance to play on a youth soccer team. One of my best friends growing up was really into soccer. He was on they call it 3v3, because you play 3 aside plus a goalie. So it's really 4v4, but 3v3 soccer, youth soccer. And I got to play. And I sucked. Yeah. I was so bad at soccer. There was one time in a game where a ball popped up in the air in a dangerous spot right there in the box, and I do exactly the thing that you teach your goalkeeper to do, right? You go up right behind the pile, you go up, and you try to high point it. Try to get it at its peak, wrap both hands around it, bring it down. And I did that perfectly, which would have been great if I had been the goalie, but I was not. So that was a problem. The other thing that happened, and what ended up being my last competitive soccer game of my entire life, was I ended up somehow with a breakaway. Clean through on goal down the left wing. And I got the ball on my right foot. I'm right-footed, even though I'm left-handed. I guess maybe that's how that works for some people. Maybe that's not that strange, but I am right-footed. I got the ball right on the laces of my right foot. I put my boot right through that thing. Clean. Ripped it right at the goal. Hit the keeper right in the hands. Right in the hands. Which wouldn't have been so bad if he hadn't been tying his shoes. So that was the point at which I decided not only was I bad at soccer, but that the whole enterprise was stupid and a waste of time, and I wasn't going to give it another second's thought for the rest of my life. And other than attending one Colorado Rapids game at Mile High Stadium in like 1998, that was it. That was the end of my interest in the sport of soccer, and I wrote it off, and I was a hater, and I was the ugly American stereotype when it came to talking about soccer for years and years. Then 2010 rolled around, World Cup year, right? 2010's World Cup year. It was in South Africa, I believe, in 2010. And I was 23, and I was living in North Platte, Nebraska. Would you like to know how much stuff there is to do for a single 23-year-old man not 23. Yeah, 23. Single 23-year-old man in North Platte, Nebraska. You want to guess how much stuff there is to do?
There's that one music festival that comes around like the weekend of Stampede.
Nebraska Land Days. That's right. How do you know about Nebraska Land Days?
Because I know that some of the artists that play at Stampede then go up to Nebraska and play the next day.
That's true.
And
shout
they
out,
like flip-flop.
Man, shout out to Nebraska Land Days. Anyway,
that is in North Platte though, right?
Yeah, that's the first. I was also the first rodeo I ever went to was the Buffalo Bill Cody Rodeo. Anyway, other than that, not a lot.
Yeah.
So what did I do? I was like, all right, people been like my best friend, my absolute best friend. He played soccer through high school and is a big fan of the sport. He'd been trying to get me to watch it. So I'm like, all right, I'm going to check out some of this World Cup. And sitting down and watching the sport, I actually sort of kind of got into it a little bit, started to see the game a little bit, understand like, all right, so they're not just kicking the ball back and forth for no reason. Like they're trying to unlock the defense. They're trying to open up space. It's a game of space and creating space and what you do when you're in that space. And how do you create space? How do you pull the defense in one direction to create space on the other side? And I started to really see it in that way. And the World Cup final that year was Spain beating the Netherlands. And it was a terrible match. Just an awful display of soccer. Spain won 1-0. They scored in the second half of extra time. Andres Iniesta with the winning goal. I'll never forget. And it was terrible soccer. But like I was understanding the game to the point where I was really like wrapped up in it. And from that point forward, like I bought the video game. It was like I was 8 years old again. Threw myself into it. Started reading about it again. I bought FIFA for the PlayStation and got really addicted to it. And so I've been a fan of the sport ever since. I wouldn't say I'm a soccer diehard, but I am a soccer enjoyer. And I'm looking forward to enjoying the World Cup, which, again, it's been really hard to enjoy the lead up, especially for those folks out there who like to separate their sports and their politics. Impossible with a World Cup. Maybe more impossible for this World Cup than with any World Cup before it, though I think it's probably like close.
Because I've come to realize that over the last like 36 hours about how teams were supposed to go somewhere, but now they can't go somewhere. I know these people were supposed to be allowed here, but they're now not allowed here.
Yeah, the best official in Africa who's from Somalia. What does our president think of Somalia? He'll tell you. And the Somalian referee can't come into the country. They won't let him in, so he can't officiate the World Cup. But they're going to start to play the games. And when the game is on, the game is all that matters. And that is the beauty, and it is also how FIFA keeps getting away with it because they deserve a lot more criticism even than they get. And then the games distract us all. And they will again. They will again here over the next month and change. Anyhow, coming up this hour at 580 Sports Talk, we got around to What's Wrong With You. We're going to talk to Cole Carmody, recruiting editor at GoPowerCat.com, in for Tim Fitzgerald for a second straight week on the Tallgrass Windows Indoors Wildcat Wrap-Up. But I did want to start with this. A couple of interesting documents floating out there in the college sports world today. We've been talking a lot about, obviously, the Brendan Sorsby situation and how teams and schools in the Big 12 are going to react to Brendan Sorsby receiving an injunction that will allow him, at least for now, to play the 2026 season. We had not heard from Texas Tech Athletic Director Kirby Hocutt until this afternoon, which he posted an open letter to social media. I'll read from it in portions here. I've watched the reaction to Monday's court ruling with great respect for my colleagues across college athletics. Many of them are people I admire, but I also owe it to Texas Tech and, frankly, to the truth, to offer a few facts that seem to be getting lost in the noise. Brendan Sorsby has not played a single down of football as a Red Raider. He will miss the first 2 games of the season in terms of ruling. And in no small part, we're taking it one day at a time as he is. We'll evaluate his recovery, compliance, and readiness as we go. We are watching closely. We are deeply committed to his progress and well-being. We are not operating on blind faith. We are operating on a comprehensive clinical and compliance structure that we committed to before the court ruled in Brendan's lawsuit against the NCAA and that Brendan committed to as a condition of his return to our football program. Texas Tech is not a party to Brendan's lawsuit. We didn't file it. We didn't fund it. A young man in treatment for a clinically diagnosed addiction exercised his legal right to seek a remedy in court, and a judge agreed with him. Our role has been to support his recovery, not to engineer his ability. I've heard the word integrity used a great deal in the last 48 hours. As someone who has dedicated his career to college sports, I too believe integrity is central to our industry's success. I also think integrity applies on more than one front. The integrity of sport matters. So does the integrity of how we treat a 22-year-old who sought help, entered residential treatment, and is working every day toward recovery. Those two things don't have to be in conflict. After a beat, it continues. We are glad Brendan is still part of our community because that is where we can extend him the best possible support in his ongoing recovery, clinical care, device monitoring, financial oversight, outpatient therapy. That infrastructure exists because we take our responsibility to this young man seriously. Pulling him out of a structured environment away from his team and his support system does not protect anyone. Other people have made this point maybe better than I have. But can you not keep Brendan Sorsby in a structured environment among his team and his support system, but also say, hey, you did this thing, and the rule is you can't play football. And the rule is in place because of how damaging it would be to the integrity of our sport if you were allowed to play, despite having done what nobody disputes that you have done. Supporting Sorsby in his recovery and aiding his mental health can be accomplished without allowing him to play football. He can be on the team. He can go to school, get a degree, use all the resources that the university and the program provides, but he doesn't have to line up at quarterback against Houston to do all that. It is breathtakingly cynical to suggest that the only way that Texas Tech can possibly offer Brendan Sorsby the support that he needs, and nobody is disputing that he needs it, and nobody is disputing that he benefits from the environment that he could be in at the university. Nobody is saying that Texas Tech should cut him adrift. But to suggest that the only way that Texas Tech can possibly support Brendan Sorsby is if he's allowed to play quarterback for them is so cynical. And it shows the extent of the person's value to the institution. It is being said implicitly, if not explicitly, the only value that Brendan Sorsby has to us is as our quarterback. We could give a damn about his recovery and about his mental health. We're trying to win some football games. So we only care about his recovery and his mental health if it's going to help us win these football games. The minute it doesn't, we're done with this dude.
Is that also because if he doesn't play football, he's going to leave the university? So that's their take.
Well, that's his decision then.
That's true.
That's a decision. That's an adult decision that Brendan Sorsby can make. If he feels like if he can't play football there, then the best place for him to be is somewhere else for the sake of his mental health and for the process of his recovery, then that's his right. But Texas Tech can offer him all of those things without also saying, yeah, and you can play football, but only if you're playing football here. Because in effect, what the implication is that we don't care about that stuff. We don't really care about this young man's mental health. We don't care a lick about Brendan Sorsby if he's not slinging that rock and winning us the Big 12.
Yeah.
And there's no other way to read that. So there's that from Kirby Hocutt. And, now Cody Campbell's doing the press tour. He went on the Dan Dakich podcast.
Dan Dakich?
Yeah. I got
Oh my God.
Yeah,
that guy.
Yeah.
A waste of a human.
Yes, that guy. And he went on his podcast and said, quote, "This kid did not impact the integrity of a single game. He didn't bet on a single game he played in. He didn't hurt anybody. There are kids that will suit up this fall who have actually hurt people and done bad things, and nobody's talking about boycotting them or not playing them." And I understand that those sentences are true, but there is a rule that was broken, and there are consequences for breaking the rule that is in place. And you are arguing that there shouldn't be, and you are arguing that the reason that there shouldn't be is for the sake of somebody's recovery and mental health, which you've proven that you really don't care about insofar as it doesn't help you win football games. You only care about this stuff if you win football games. If you think Cody Campbell gives one single solitary thought to Brendan Sorsby as a human being outside of what he looks like with those pads on under center for Texas Tech football, I got a bridge I can sell you. So that leads me to another document that's out there today. A letter to the chairman of the U.S. Senate Commerce Committee, Ted Cruz, Senator Ted Cruz of Texas, and the committee ranking member, Senator Maria Cantwell, who have put forth the Protect College Sports Act. This letter is written by John Calipari, a past president of the National Association of Basketball Coaches and the current coach at Arkansas. Supporting signatories include the current president of the NABC, Tommy Amaker, who's the head men's basketball coach at Harvard, the executive director of the NABC, Craig Robinson, former coach at Oregon State, and Obama's brother-in-law, President Obama's brother-in-law, I think, if I remember right. Anyway.
Didn't know that.
Yeah. Or cousin. There's some relation to the 44th president. Other co-signers include Bill Self, Mark Few, John Shire, Dan Hurley, Tom Izzo, Shaka Smart, Penny Hardaway, Matt Painter, Kelvin Sampson, Frank Martin, Rick Barnes, Jamie Dixon, Tad Boyle. It's a who's who.
The biggest of college basketball.
It's a who's who of college basketball coaches. And the letter, the long and the short of it, is in support of the Protect College Sports Act. The letter suggests that there are 3 issues that the committee should address in legislation. The first issue, fairness for student athletes. The long-term solutions should include thoughtful discussion regarding age and eligibility standards. We support an age-based eligibility model in which a student athlete's 5-year eligibility window begins upon initial full-time enrollment in college or at the beginning of the academic year following their 19th birthday, whichever occurs first. The second issue involves the transfer process. Calipari and the signatories advocate for a free first-time transfer and the ability to transfer without penalty if the coach who recruited the player leaves for another position or is dismissed. But if a student-athlete chooses to transfer more than once, quote, they should not be eligible to compete during the next season. However, they should be able to practice and earn revenue share, NIL opportunities, and other benefits the same as participating student-athletes. Third, and most importantly, we must remember that approximately 99% of college athletes will never play professional sports. College athletics must continue to be centered on education. Any legislation should encourage academic progress, degree completion, and preparation for life after sports. There's also a section in here regarding international players. Any international player who enrolls in a collegiate program no later than the academic year following their 19th birthday should be subject to the same pre-enrollment certification process and academic requirements as their American counterparts and should receive the same 5-year window of competitive eligibility afforded to American players. For international players who seek enrollment after that threshold, a different standard should apply. You read that and you think, I wonder why Brad Underwood didn't sign this letter. I wonder why Will Wade didn't sign this letter. It's funny to notice who didn't sign it. The jokes write themselves.
Exactly.
But I do think that this is a as close as you're going to get a group of coaches with wildly different interests. You're talking John Calipari, SEC, Mark Few, I guess the Pac-12 now. That's a thing. Gonzaga's in the Pac-12 now for basketball.
Oh my God! Yes.
Yeah. John Shire, ACC, Bill Self, Big 12, Dan Hurley, Big East, Tom Izzo, Big 10, Shaka Smart, Big East. Bill Self and Shaka Smart agreeing on something.
Wow,
that's like world ending. But anyway, all of these coaches agreeing on something like this, the closest thing you're going to get to advocation for this legislation that is currently being proposed by the Senate Commerce Committee. The Brendan Sorsby ruling has given more oxygen to the idea of congressional intervention to help the NCAA more than anything ever has before. Incredibly, it almost feels now like the NCAA are the good guys. And when in my life or yours has the NCAA ever been the good guys? Have they ever been the good guys?
No.
Not since the Brendan Sorsby ruling. This is the first time that the NCAA has felt sympathetic and could lead, in the end, to the NCAA, to something passing Congress, to the NCAA receiving legitimate power via an antitrust exception as a governing body to enforce its own rules. And then all of a sudden, what's best for the NCAA as a sports governing body might not match what's best for the 2 biggest conferences in the NCAA. And if that happens, that's where things get very, very interesting. That is the state of play in the broader world of college sports. Big 12 Board of Executives meeting tomorrow. I can promise you we'll get spicier. We're going to take a timeout. We'll get to what is wrong with you next. Then Cole Carmody from GoPowerCat.com on 580 Sports Talk. So what is wrong with you time on 580 Sports Talk? Two new stories competing today. Our current champ, the guy who outran the cops briefly but couldn't outrun an alligator. Gentleman in Louisiana who engaged in a foot chase with police after he was pulled over on suspicion of DWI, jumped into a swamp, got bit by an alligator, suffered injuries to both arms, and then was eventually captured by police.
Man, that is karma.
Almost. I would have gotten away with it, too, if it wasn't for that meddling alligator. Two new stories today. I'll go first. We're going to Florida. 46-year-old Florida man crashed his SUV and then carjacked a woman who stopped to help before he drove to a Chick-fil-A and stole a French fry from a child. That's not a Mad Lib, folks. That's the lead sentence. 46-year-old Corey Coddington faces a slew of charges, according to the Broward County Sheriff's Office. The incident occurred shortly before noon on Saturday. Dispatch received several reports after a man later identified as Coddington wrapped his SUV around a tree. Cheyenne Figaro told local ABC affiliate WSVN that she witnessed the crash, walked up to Coddington to see if he was okay. Coddington then stole her car. He allegedly drove to a nearby Chick-fil-A where witnesses say he was covered in blood when he got out of his car. A guy asked him, "Are you okay?" And he said, "Does it look like I'm okay?" Which I sort of understand him being a little snippy about the question.
Yeah.
He just got in a car wreck and he's covered in blood. He's definitely not okay. The suspect then stole a French fry from a child and said he wanted a milkshake. The child received a new order of fries free of charge. Phew, I was worried. But Coddington was not done with his alleged crime spree. He reportedly walked over to a gas station where he was confronted by deputies. He was allegedly combative with cops before they took him into custody. He was arrested and taken to the hospital for treatment. Deputies say they recovered more than 10 grams of MDMA, widely known as ecstasy, from the defendant. A witness told local NBC affiliate WTVJ that after the incident was over, she found it amusing. Quote, "We're not from here. We don't see this every day." See? Florida Board of Tourism. You never know what you're going to see on a day in Florida.
We're not from here.
You might run into Florida man. They had no idea going to a Chick-fil-A they were going to encounter a Florida man.
Side note, that has nothing to do with this story, but "I'm not from here" is a favorite quote in Olivia and I's relationship because one of the first weekends she was living here with me was the 4th of July weekend.
Mm-hmm.
And we went to Sonic and got shakes. And the girl that brought us out the shakes said there's like a loud boom, which around the 4th of July fireworks, right? Like she goes, "Is that fireworks or gunshots? I'm not from around here." That's like, I don't know, one of our favorite quotes, but it had to do with "I'm not from around here."
All right, what's your story today?
We're going to go back to Florida. A man was accused of burglarizing an RV in Cape Coral while en route to court for a prior burglary charge. The Cape Coral Police Department said a family reported that a man attempted to break into their RV on Monday. While they were inside, the man attempted to open the locked door multiple times before he disconnected the RV from its power source, CCPD said. The family said the man was, quote, "wearing woman's clothing. He wore leggings, a tank top, and a small backpack." Officers found Devin Turner, 34, who said he was on his way to court and was searching for clothing to wear, according to the body cam video. Officers determined Turner attempted to unlawfully enter an occupied dwelling with the intent to commit theft. CCPD said Turner's court date was related to a prior burglary charge. Officers also located 2.9 grams of methamphetamine inside his backpack during a search. He was arrested and transported to Lee County Jail for burglary of an occupied dwelling and possession of methamphetamine.
We've had lots of stories like this where people clearly don't learn their lesson. I want to go back to, they said he was wearing woman's clothing. It was just like tight pants and a tank top. Like that doesn't necessarily have to be women's clothing. Maybe it's just real comfortable. Maybe he likes a tighter fit.
Yeah, but he was searching for clothes he could wear to the.
He was searching for clothes that he could wear.
So
he needed
clearly he wasn't equipped. He wasn't equipped.
That
with
was
the needed clothes.
That was like the undershirt.
Yeah,
and I guess the underpants maybe as well.
I don't know, man.
That's wild. All right, yeah, we had two good ones today, both drug related, so we can't go tied to sobriety here today. Guy got in a wreck and stole a French fry.
Yeah.
Well, just imagine the scene. Walking into a Chick-fil-A, you're sitting there, you got your 12 count nuggets with the buffalo sauce. That's my order. And if I don't feel up for a sandwich, and this bloody man walks in and just snipes a French fry. Oh, yeah, that looks good.
That's mine, not yours.
That looks good. I'm glad they replenished the kids' French fries. That's gonna win for me today. Man, does that beat the guy who got bit by an alligator in the swamp?
I don't know, man. We got like instant karma on, and then I don't know, man. I got a tie here.
Like, we can't. There's no tie goes to sobriety, so I guess we're gonna go ahead and leave it to the text line here and the YouTube commenters. So we got the alligator story. The guy was fleeing the cops, jumped into a swamp, got bit by an alligator. And we have the guy who got in a wreck, stole a car, and then stole a French fry from a kid at Chick-fil-A. So is your vote for alligator or Chick-fil-A? Just to simplify it. Text 785-272-9429, 785-272-9429, or drop your answers in the live chat on our YouTube channel. Alligator or Chick-fil-A? Who's going to survive as our winner on What Is Wrong With You? Cole Carmody joins us next for the Wildcat Wrap-Up, sponsored by Tallgrass Windows and Doors. It is the Wildcat Wrap-Up on 580 Sports Talk, and for his second straight week, subbing in for Tim Fitzgerald is Cole Carmody, the recruiting editor at GoPowerCat.com, part of the 24/7 Sports Network, joining us on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits Hotline. The Wildcat Wrap-Up is sponsored by Tallgrass Windows and Doors, who provide high-quality products at affordable prices. You can check out their showrooms in either Wamego or Lawrence, or visit them online at tallgrasswindows.com. Excellence without exception. That's Tallgrass Windows and Doors. Cole, Cooper Onmacht is going to be a Kansas State Wildcat, the best player in the state of Kansas for the class of 2027 out of Great Bend, pledging to Colin Klein's Cats over the weekend. The broad assumption was he was going to wind up somewhere else. I think the consensus prediction there was Penn State. How did K-State turn the tide in their pursuit of the state's best player?
I think it was pretty simple, Dan. K-State has had the mentality throughout this entire cycle that they are going to recruit kids that fit their program, A, and B, want to be part of a family atmosphere. And that's a really, a strong word. You hear family in the days of college football recruiting in 2026, and it can ring hollow for some. But I think for Cooper Onmacht, that was what really sealed the deal. Getting a chance to not only play for Colin Klein in the in-state school, but feel that family atmosphere was something that was really attractive to him. And it was attractive. It's been attractive to a lot of the recruits so far that K-State has landed in their recruiting class. But with Cooper Omott in particular, this is a kid who is a really big win for Colin Klein. He automatically is the highest rated recruit so far for the Wildcats. And his versatility at the safety position is impressive, to say the least. And his track times are incredible. If anybody out there had a chance to go to the state track meet, you probably saw this kid put up some crazy numbers. He's a fantastic athlete, and there's a reason why K-State wanted him so bad.
You mentioned his ability at safety. Is he a no-doubt defensive guy? Because he put up some good numbers offensively last season.
Yeah, I think a lot of that had to do with the fact that he had Ian Premer with him, the now Notre Dame tight end.
Probably.
Yeah, you got two options like that. That's obviously going to be good for an offense. I have heard some whispers of people who saying, hey, maybe give this guy a look as a two-way. I think that as long as K-State's able to do what they need to do at receiver, that probably won't happen. But, I think they really like his projection at the safety spot, already listed 6 foot, 185 pounds. I would imagine that he's only going to continue to grow. He's got the athleticism to play back there. And with new safeties coach Jeremiah Johnson, it feels like they're going to play a lot of safety. So I would anticipate him sticking on the defensive side.
What sort of ability does he offer? Like, what's the best case scenario outcome for his skill set on the defensive side of the ball at safety?
When I watch Cooper Omott play, he reminds me of another former Kansas State Wildcat, and that's Ty Zimmerman. That's the kind of kid that I think K-State is getting. I think they're getting a natural leader as well. This is a guy who was very vocal for Great Bend this season. Even in the shadow of an Ian Premer, Cooper was a leader of that defense. So I think they're getting a high-end player who can maybe be more of a ball hawk in the secondary than necessarily a guy who's going to come down and light you up in the run play fairly early on. Now it's going to take him some time to adjust to the Big 12, but this is a guy who K-State really wanted. They really liked to play, and it is a little reminiscent to the Junction City natives.
Cole Carmody, the recruiting editor at GoPowerCat.com, joining us here on 580 Sports Talk. This is the Tallgrass Windows and Doors Wildcat Wrap-Up here on the program. We do it every Wednesday at this time. Cole pinch hitting for publisher at GoPowerCat.com, Tim Fitzgerald. K-State far from done on the recruiting front. They got a bunch of official visits coming in this weekend, and I know you'll have a list out eventually over at GoPowerCat.com. But of players taking an official visit, who to you is the most intriguing player that is going to be on campus and checking out what Manhattan has to offer?
Well, K-State is not done at the wideout spot. I mentioned that earlier. That's a spot that I'm going to be looking at pretty heavily. Two guys have started to emerge there. I'll start with Ashton Stark from Letcher, Louisiana. This is a guy who has been recruited by K-State for some time now, ever since the new staff took over. It seems like it's going to be between Arkansas and K-State. He is more of a slot receiver, kind of a gadget kind of guy who has incredible speed. He's currently listed as the number 104 receiver in the country. So it's kind of going to be between Arkansas and K-State with that recruitment. K-State feels like they're in a really good spot, but this is a kid who also had offers from Ole Miss, from Texas Tech, from Houston and Cincinnati, as well as Auburn. So pretty heavily recruited out of Louisiana. That's a guy I'm keeping my eye on. I think K-State's in a really good spot. And then, of course, Jacob Lockett, the legacy of Kansas State, the brother of Tyler Lockett, brother of Sterling Lockett. He did pick up an offer, would have been almost 2 weeks ago now. This is a kid who K-State has been really high on. They've seen a lot of progression out of him. He will take a visit this weekend to Manhattan, and if things go well, I would anticipate him committing and being a part of the class. So those are two guys who I'm really keeping my eye on as potential commitments for K-State this weekend. And if they were able to secure one of, if not both of those guys, I would have to consider that to be a very successful weekend.
You mentioned legacies or relatives of former NFL players. Let's stay on that track because K-State got a commitment late last week from 3-star running back Correll Buckhalter Jr. Gosh, just turned me into dust. Apparently, I'm just ancient. Correll Buckhalter Jr. out of Argyle, Texas, 3-star running back commit to the Cats. What sort of style of player are the Cats getting with Correll Buckhalter Jr.?
He's really fast. And coming from the NFL, coming from an NFL locker room, being raised in an NFL locker room with that family lineage, this is a guy who understands the game of football. And I don't think that very many people understand what that's like unless you're in that situation. But Correll Buckhalter actually posted a picture on Twitter the other day of him and Darren Sproles. He was a little kid, had to have been 7 or 8 years old, which, again, Dan, you say feeling old. I felt old because I remember Darren Sproles when he was at K-State. Darren Sproles went to the same high school that I teach at right now. And what do you know? He's taking a picture with Correll Buckhalter's son, who just so ends up happened to be a future Wildcat as well. So, yeah, this is a guy who K-State, I think, was RB1 on their board. So they were able to land that. And that's an excellent get for Corey Patterson, the running backs coach, because not only are you getting a guy who does have incredible straight line speed, but he does also carry that family lineage, and you have to feel like he is going to develop at a pretty quick rate.
Is K-State maybe done at running back, or how active do you expect them to be at that position? Because obviously we've seen K-State like to platoon running backs, and they've had a lot of success sending them to the league in recent years.
Yeah, I think they're probably done there. They do. There's been some rumors of some other official visits happening next weekend. I don't necessarily think that will happen. I think they feel really comfortable with Buckhalter. And that's also a position where you can find guys in the transfer portal. Jay Harris, obviously, who K-State picked up from Oregon this past season. They also were able to get Rodney Fields Jr. from Oklahoma State. Both of those guys saw significant playing time at the Power 5 level. So I have a feeling that K-State is going to just stick with the one running back because they feel like if they really need to, they can get some experience from the transfer portal at that spot, because you're right, teams do tend to play a lot of guys, which means there's going to be a lot of guys who have played college snaps every year that inevitably end up in the portal.
Couple more minutes with Cole Carmody, the recruiting editor at GoPowerCat.com, joining us for the Tallgrass Windows and Doors Wildcat Wrap-Up here on 580 Sports Talk. From the future Cats to the current Cats, Bill Connolly of ESPN.com releasing his first set of SP Plus rankings for the Big 12 earlier today, and it's got Kansas State ranked 4th among the 16 Big 12 teams with an average outcome of just over 8 wins in their simulations based on the SP Plus numbers. Are you surprised to see K-State maybe thought of that highly by the numbers going into 2026?
Yeah, I am. I'm a little surprised simply because they had to retool so much. And I get that's everybody in college football nowadays. The team that everybody seems to like is Oklahoma State. I have not seen those rankings yet, so I would be curious to see where the Cowboys wind up in those rankings. But I think that as far as K-State goes, that seems about right. I think they might get picked a little lower. I guess they don't even do a Big 12 preseason poll anymore. But if they were, the betting odds, I believe, have them right about that position as well. So I'm a little surprised that the computers like them that much. I think having Avery Johnson back is probably a big part of that. I'm a big proponent on anytime you have a returning quarterback, your team typically improves the following season. So I think that's kind of the trend that K-State is the track that K-State is on right now. But yeah, I was a little surprised to see that simply because they are replacing so much, but it really does not surprise me.
The interesting factor that you bring up is, obviously everybody is retooling to a certain extent, pretty much year over year. There's so much turnover anymore when it comes to rosters. You mentioned Oklahoma State. Is that the team to you that maybe is the highest variance team in the Big 12 because they were so bad last year, but it's almost a brand new team. They've imported just about the entire offense from North Texas, which was one of the best offenses in the country in the AAC last year. How is that going to translate to the Big 12 level? We'll see. But do you consider Oklahoma State to be maybe that high variance team in the Big 12 this year?
I do. I mean, I have no idea what I'm going to get with them. They could come out and they could be, a top 3 or 4 team in the conference, or I could see them struggling and being right around 500. This is I think Oklahoma State's a fascinating case study because we're going to find out if the Curt Cignetti model works or if it's just Curt Cignetti and Fernando Mendoza and all the other guys he brought with him. I'm not sold on Oklahoma State. I know Mestelmaker is a fantastic quarterback, but again, this is a North Texas team that they couldn't even win their own conference and make the playoffs. So I really have been trying to pump the brakes on the Cowboys this year, simply for the fact that, yes, they put up a lot of numbers. How is that going to translate to the Big 12? It is going to be an interesting case study. I would say that their recruiting has not had a significant uptick, which is also something I've been monitoring and could be kind of, a sign for what that staff does this fall. We'll see. But yeah, I would agree. I think Oklahoma State is going to be one of the most interesting teams in the Big 12.
Cole Carmody is the recruiting editor at GoPowerCat.com and joins us for the Wildcat Wrap-Up today, sponsored by Tallgrass Windows and Doors, who provide high-quality products at affordable prices. You can check out their showrooms in either Wamego or Lawrence, or visit them online at tallgrasswindows.com. Excellence without exception. That's Tallgrass Windows and Doors. Cole, it was a pleasure once again. We'll do it again soon.
All right. Thanks, Dan.
That is Cole Carmody. We'll step aside for a timeout, come back, and put a wrap on this 4 o'clock hour of 580 Sports Talk, including revealing our What Is Wrong With You winner for the day. .455 on 580 Sports Talk. The alligator story continues. Tabulated the votes from the text line and the YouTube chat, and it will be the Louisiana gentleman who was running from the cops, jumped into a swamp, and got bit by an alligator. Wounds to both arms, which tells me he got bit twice.
Yeah. Also, it looks like it was a landslide in the chat.
Yeah, it will be the alligator story continuing on. Also, we missed this in the 3 o'clock hour, so we got to run it back. It is 96 days to Kansas City Chiefs kickoff. We are 96 days away from the season opener for the Kansas City Chiefs against the Denver Broncos, Monday Night Football at Arrowhead Stadium. And if we're doing it in the D block of the hour, you can probably assume that the number is worn by a UDFA who is not likely to make a 53-man roster.
Yeah.
And you would be correct. Number 96 on the current Chiefs roster is Cole Brevard, a UDFA defensive tackle out of Texas. We do our big Chief picks before every Chiefs game. Pick the pick to click, so to speak. We call it the Big Chief. Cole Brevard is my Big Chief pick because he is the biggest Chief. He is 346 pounds. That makes him the heaviest player on the Chiefs camp roster, 11 pounds heavier than Khyiris Tonga.
Interesting.
So that is the interesting fact to know about Cole Brevard. He is number 96 for the Chiefs, and we are 96 days away from Chiefs kickoff. Andy Reid's going to speak to the media tomorrow. We'll bring that to you on tomorrow's Royals shortened edition of 580 Sports Talk. Will be delayed getting on the air due to some Royals Day baseball. We got one more full hour of today's program still to come. We've got our 580 Sports Talk headlines that we will get to. We're going to play a round of One Gotta Go.
I thought I had my mic off there. Excuse me.
Am I boring you, Spencer?
No, I thought I turned my mic off.
Anyway, we got One Gotta Go. And we got a Royals-Rangers Game 2 preview. That's coming up later tonight as well. So stay with us. It's 580 Sports Talk at WIBW. Let's get it. Hour number 3 of 580 Sports Talk on this Wednesday. Dan Lucero, Spencer Dupuis hanging out with you here on the Sports Voice of Kansas, 580 WIBW, FM 104.9, online at 580WIBW.com, and our video stream is live on YouTube at 580 Sports Talk and on Facebook at WIBW News. Royals baseball coming up after we're done, right at 6 o'clock, pregame coverage. 6:40, first pitch tonight from the K, Royals and Rangers. Game 2 of a 3-game series. Royals won the opener last night, 5-3. They're 6-2 in June. Maybe May was just a cursed month. And these June Royals are the real Royals. They got to see a lot more than 8 games to believe that. But hey, you can't be negative all the time. 6-2 is a good start to the month. It's the start it's pretty much had to be for the Royals, as deep as the ditch is that they have dug for themselves. They played good ball in their last 2 series and played well again last night in a 5-3 win. 2 homers for Jack Caglianone. 4 innings of solid ball from the bullpen. How often have we said that this year? Not often enough is the answer.
Shout out Alex Lang in the 9th.
Langxiety.
Is that the new? Is he our new closer? Is he?
Yeah,
he go that way. This is what they're going to do now.
That he appears to be the guy. He appears to be Matt Quatrero's first choice in the 9th. Boy, he came out through 6 straight balls, and I said, "Oh boy!" But then, got the out. Couple of strikeouts after that. Like, he can miss a bat. That's what I want in the 9th inning. Royals really haven't had that since Urseg in 2024. They haven't had a guy who can reliably miss a bat in the 9th, and Alex Lang can miss a bat. He can also miss the strike zone a lot, which you're never going to be all the way comfortable with Lang, but he has pitched well in the 9th inning since kind of assuming that role.
After those straight balls, I thought it was going to be 5-4, at least.
Yeah,
I thought there was going to be another 9th inning run given up.
That's why somebody over at Royals Review has coined the term Langxiety. That's what we've all got in the 9th inning of close games. But that's better than what it had been, because at least when Lang's been out there, they've been shaking hands, and that's what you want. You want a closer who you can shake hands with after 3 outs. Don't necessarily care how it looks. Just get those 3 outs before they score enough runs on the other side. So, game 2 of the 3-game series is tonight at the K. 6:40 first pitch, 6 o'clock pregame here on 580 WIBW. Coming up this hour, we got one guy to go. We got, again, some more Royals talk. We are going to do some headlines, including a playoff roundup. I want to hear from you on the text line, 785-272-9429. You can also, again, interact with us on the YouTube channel in the live chat. 580 Sports Talk is the name of the channel. What if I told you that there is a new way that you can listen to 580 Sports Talk? What if I told you? What if I told you there's a new way to do it? On your phone. You might say, wow, that's great. Tell me more. I hope that's what you would say, because I'm going to tell you about it whether you want me to or not. Anyway, obviously, as many of you are aware, and if you are not, the top of the hour ID should be an indicator of that. But maybe if you're just a video viewer of the program and not a frequent on-air listener to 580 or FM 104.9, we recently changed hands. We are now owned by the MSC Radio Group. We are a locally owned and operated radio station for the first time in about a quarter of a century. And as such, 580 WIBW can now be heard on the MSC Radio app, which you can download on your phone or your tablet, and you don't have to mess around with a search. You don't have to listen to Odyssey's ads or iHeart's ads or TuneIn's ads, because I've listened to 580 on a variety of different apps over the years.
Sometimes it doesn't sync up right.
Sometimes you got to listen to like 3 minutes of pre-roll ads before you can get to what you're trying to listen to.
Yeah. I remember the first time I was covering K-State, and I missed part of the show to go cover the basketball game. And I was trying to figure out where to go because I'd never been there before. So I was like, all right, I got to pull up iHeartRadio or something. And it took me like 4 minutes of ads before I could hear you guys on the show again.
Not so anymore. Just download the MSC Radio app, and you can not only listen to 580 WIBW, but you can also listen to the other 3 stations we have in-house here in our Topeka studios. That'd be 98.5 Jack FM. That'd be Big 94.5 Country. That'd be Country 106.9. And the 6 stations that were previously under the purview of MSC Radio Group. Most of those, again, to the north of us, with the exception of 96.9 FM, The Pulse, which is a licensed station licensed to Topeka. So go download the app on your phone. Go do it right now. What are you waiting for? MSC Radio app. Just search MSC Radio. Download the app. Get registered. Takes you like 30 seconds to get registered to use the app. And then you are all set to go, and you can listen to us anywhere on your phone. How easy is that? Listen to 580 Sports Talk. Listen to any of our other 580 WIBW programming. Sports programming is a little iffy. We can't stream the Royals. I think we can stream K-State. We cannot stream the Royals. We cannot stream the Chiefs. The Major League Baseball and the NFL would get really, really mad at us. If we did that, it would be an end run around stuff they make you pay for. And so we can't do that. We apologize. But everything else we got, including 580 Sports Talk every day, it's right there on your phone. MSC Radio app. Download it. Be cool.
I already sent it out to my people.
There you go.
They were all hyped.
Let them know. Let them know. Yeah, it's a pretty cool deal. Anyway, I wanted to let you all know about a new way to listen to 580 Sports Talk. Let's do our 580 Sports Talk headlines, shall we? Let's begin with this bit of news that broke during the 3 o'clock hour. I mentioned it then. I'll bring it back now with further details from the reporting team. And this is strange that they're a reporting team now. It's going to take me a while to get used to seeing a double byline with Adam Schefter and Ian Rappaport, but that's the media environment we live in now. The Kansas City Chiefs are adding 2 years to Patrick Mahomes' contract in a reworked contract that ties him to Kansas City through 2023 at a value of $504.75 million. It is the first NFL deal valued at over $500 million. The new money on the deal is worth $239.05 million, with a total value now at $504.75 million from this season, 2026, through 2033. The first 4 years are guaranteed at signing. All $504.75 million becomes guaranteed through contract mechanisms. $2.25 million through incentives and escalators. Beginning in 2027, when the new money begins, the deal averages $64 million per year, which is an NFL record for average annual value. This is the third time in 6 years that the Chiefs and Mahomes have reset the quarterback market. A statement from Clark Hunt reads, over the last decade, Patrick has become one of the most iconic, beloved sports figures of all time. Whoa. Like that. Wow. But also, yeah, certainly here, but like broadly, yeah, like he's kind of, how many quarterbacks had 3 Super Bowls, man? Like, yeah. He's up there. He has helped lead our franchise to 5 Super Bowl appearances and 3 championships. He has been instrumental in shaping the Chiefs brand and putting Kansas City on the world stage. And on top of it all, he has been an outstanding role model in the community. Patrick is a generational talent and an elite human being, and I'm so excited he will continue to lead our team into the future, end quote. So the last time Mahomes signed a deal was the 10-year, $450 million contract in 2020 at $45 million a year. Now you got that's like the going rate for average quarterback play is around $45-50 million a year. So not a surprise that this was going to happen at some point, that the Chiefs were going to redo Mahomes' deal. They were going to make him the highest paid quarterback in the league. And now they have the opportunity to play salary cap games and with Mahomes under this dollar figure and figure out what their future expenditures under an escalating salary cap are going to look like. It's going to be very different for the Chiefs in the next year or two when you presume that Travis Kelce will no longer be an active player, when Chris Jones's contracts are going to look a little bit different. I don't think he's going to be at a point where he is the top earner at defensive tackle, and it could be a different looking sort of financial structure for Chris Jones. The Chiefs are going to have to start thinking about paying guys down the road like Josh Simmons, like Mansour Lane, things like that. So this deal accomplishes a lot as it pertains to making sure Patrick Mahomes feels the love and is the highest paid quarterback in the league. As far as the salary cap ramifications in the short term, and we have somebody in the text line from the 785 asking that question, that I cannot tell you. That is not entirely clear right away. And I do not think
I haven't seen any reporting of it.
Yeah, that hasn't been reported. And keep in mind that the Chiefs already restructured Mahomes in February. And so his base salary in 2026 is $1.3 million. So they've already
do so much gymnastics. It's so hard to keep up with it, honestly.
You've got to have like a PhD in economics to be somebody's salary cap guy. So what he will count on the salary cap in 2026, that's not going to change. So this is not necessarily like a something that precedes another move or more salary cap room for the Chiefs to make a move or add to the 2026 roster. I don't think this is related to anything like that. Now, 2027, Mahomes' cap hit for next year is $85.3 million. You would imagine that is a number the Chiefs would like to bring down. That is a preposterous cap.
Yeah, I was talking to Greg Kagi off the air, and I just was like, at some point that this just gets to be crazy, and down the line we're going to see a Dolphins scenario that we currently see now, like after Mahomes is retired, right? There's something with dead money and stuff like that's going to have to happen, right?
You would think, but the Chiefs are a long way, hopefully, in a perfect world, from having to worry about the post-Mahomes world, particularly because they know he'll be under contract through 2033. In another Chiefs headline,
which is this headline's bizarro to me. Why is this a headline?
This broke yesterday. Jeremy Fowler of ESPN reporting that the Chiefs and Wanye Morris are exploring options regarding a trade and finding a new home for the veteran swing tackle. The Chiefs entered an agreement with Morris to look for a new place for him to play in 2026. Morris has played in 43 regular season games over 3 years as a Chief, starting 16 of them with a career-high 11 starts in 2024. According to Pro Football Talk, Morris would like to find a team that offers him a chance to return to a more prominent role, and the Chiefs appear to be open to making that happen if a suitor presents itself. It is a good thing. It's a good sign that Wanye Morris has tumbled down the depth chart, and I don't mean that as a shot at Wanye Morris. It just suggests that the Chiefs are comfortable, with Jalen Moore at right tackle for 2026, but also suggests that they're really comfortable with Esapole, that they really, really like him, and that Pole right now is going to be in that Morris role as your third tackle for 2026. So with Morris going down the depth chart, the Chiefs looking to do a solid by a guy who's been a good organizational soldier over the last 3 years, the former third-round pick, and they will look for a new home for Wanye Morris.
Do you think that also means they've seen encouraging signs from international player True Godric?
I don't think so. I don't think this would be related to Godric at all.
But I mean, like, he becomes your fourth guy, maybe.
If there's somebody who wasn't on last year's 53 who the Chiefs are impressed by so far in camp, I think that is actually the undrafted free agent out of Indiana, Khalil Benson. Heard some really good things about Benson through minicamp so far. He started at right tackle for the national champions at Indiana last year, was undrafted, signed as a UDFA. I think that's the name to watch at tackle in camp more so than Godric would be. All right, let's do some college baseball headlines, Spencer.
Yes, Tyson LeBlanc earns a first-team All-America honor from Perfect Game. Like I said, what's the other one? The one from the official All-America honor will potentially come out on Friday
Mhm.
before the College World Series. D. Kennedy is named second team All-America by both the National Collegiate Baseball Writers Association, NCWBA, and Perfect Game. He is the 19th player in K-State history to earn an All-America honor. Two of the top players at their position just so happen to be the same position. One's got to be first team and one's got to be second team.
So, yeah, and both of them to play in the Sunflower State's pretty cool in the Big 12. But, yeah, well-deserved honors for both LeBlanc and Kennedy. And then the next time we'll hear their names will be in the Major League Baseball entry draft coming up next month, right around the All-Star game. Kennedy, I think, will go – he's ranked ahead of LeBlanc in most of the pre-draft boards that I have seen. Both of them, I would expect, would hear their names within the first 5 rounds. Kennedy's got a chance to maybe poke his head into the second round. But both of them will be looking forward to their professional futures coming up in about a month.
Yeah, I mean, Tyson LeBlanc has not officially put his name in the draft. He still has another year of eligibility.
Well, you don't have to put your name in.
I guess
you're just eligible.
Yeah.
So, yeah, the way the Major League Baseball entry draft works is you hit a benchmark and you're eligible.
It's your junior year, yeah.
You're a third-year junior. There are draft-eligible sophomores. It depends on your age. If you're 19 when you start college, you can be a draft-eligible sophomore. Kevin Gausman, longtime Major League pitcher, he was drafted as a draft-eligible sophomore because he was 19 when he started college. So he was draft-eligible after 2 years at LSU when he got drafted in the first round by Baltimore. You're also eligible after either year at junior college, either your freshman or your sophomore year of junior college. And, of course, if you are a graduating high school senior. So if you are within the sound of our voice and you are a graduated senior high school baseball player, technically you are eligible. You are in the pool for the Major League Baseball entry draft. Good luck. I hope you all get drafted. Anyhow, but that is the latest college baseball news. We also have this for the upcoming TBT, the basketball tournament. The Kansas State team will feature former K-State Wildcat Xavier Sneed. It was announced earlier today that Sneed will join Michael Beasley on the purple and white squad for the upcoming TBT. What has Xavier Sneed been up to lately, you ask? Well, he's been playing his basketball overseas since a brief NBA career featured in 13 games in 2021-22, was played in 2 games with the Memphis Grizzlies, 7 games with the Utah Jazz, appeared in 4 games with the Charlotte Hornets in the 2022-23 season. Since then, has been playing overseas, appeared in games in the Italian Liga Basket Serie A, primarily with Happy Casa Brindisi in the 2023-24 season, then spent a year with Benai Herzliya of the Israeli Basketball Premier League, and signed in August of last year with Pallacanestro Cantu, once again in Italy, and that is where Sneed, at least according to what we see, that is where he has been. We're looking for his international numbers. Looks like he's actually been playing most recently for Hapoel Bank Yahav Jerusalem in the Israeli league. He's got some American teammates on that roster. Cassius Winston, remember him from Michigan State? I think from Michigan State. Michigan State. He plays for that team. It's a little hot in those Israeli streets lately. And an article from the website Eurohoops.net yesterday suggested that club, Hapoel Jerusalem, faces a major crisis with players leaving Israel. A severe regional security incident has triggered a roster crisis, forcing the abrupt suspension of Game 1 of their best-of-5 semifinal series in the Winter League playoffs. That's winner, W-I-N-N-E-R. Sneed and Isaiah Mobley have already left the country, and 3 other teammates are preparing to leave as well. So obviously that would suggest that Xavier Sneed left the country safely, and we are glad for his safety. We look forward to seeing him suit up in the TBT for the K-State team. Let's get to some NFL headlines, Spencer.
Yes, we reported on this guy getting a major extension this offseason. Well, now he's injured and he's going to have surgery. That is Alec Pierce, the Colts wide receiver. He's fresh off that 4-year, $114 million contract extension. He still faces many weeks of recovery from a left ankle surgery that he underwent in March, he told media on Wednesday. The return timetable, which Pierce said can range from 4 to 6 months, could keep him out well into training camp and past the preseason. He tried to avoid surgery, but he had consistent soreness in his ankle last season. Strongly suggested the issue needed to be addressed, and he addressed that with surgery. He didn't specify the nature of the injury exactly, but he said the issue has been lingering since 2024 and was getting progressively worse. So the Colts star wide receiver going to be out sometime and maybe put on the PUP list headed into the season. Also, we've speculated on this receiver's health over the last few weeks as well. But Giants head coach John Harbaugh is hopeful Malik Neighbors will be back soon. This, we speculated on it after they brought back one of their former receivers in Odell Beckham Jr. and signed both Juju Smith-Schuster and Braxton Berrios, those three guys all on the same day, kind of making it think like that's going to be a long-term injury. But according to John Harbaugh, they hope he can be. They think he'll be fine for week 1, is what general manager Joe Schoen said. Yeah, told Yahoo Sports a few weeks ago. So it appears it's less of a worry than was thought about a few weeks ago when they signed 3 wide receivers on the same day.
They must have gotten some good news in the last week and a half. Yeah.
Final NFL headline. I do not want this man on my team. I've said this once, and I'm going to say it again. Brandon Ayuk, who hasn't played football since like 2024, I think. He keeps aiming more harsh comments at the 49ers, saying they paid him money that they shouldn't have paid him, and that they voided his guarantee years for 2027, which I think he meant 2026.
Probably.
And he's about to be on a new team in 2027. Again, I think he meant 2026 there. And he used some words that I can't say on the radio.
Yeah.
Say at all.
Quote, you want to know why they really mad, though? They mad because they stupid. They dumb. They mad at theyselves for real. That is the direct quote from this ESPN story. And yet, again, yes, referring to being on a new team in 2027. Maybe he doesn't realize that it is currently 2026.
I saw this quoted by Commanders reporters on X the other day, and they're like, we're presuming he means 2026 for both of these.
So Brandon Ayuk really wants to play for the Washington Commanders. He really wants to play with Jay Daniels.
So much enough so that he was playing catch with a Commanders football the other day.
Yeah, wearing a hat.
Yeah.
And posting that on social media. He follows 5 accounts on Instagram as of this week. His wife, his personal brand, the shoe company Adidas, Jaden Daniels, and the Washington Commanders. Like, it could not be any more obvious. That is what he wants. And are the 49ers going to give it to him? I don't necessarily think it's going to be up to them, because I think the 49ers would love to find a team that would give them something. Anything,
no
even like a conditional 7th round pick at this point, I think they would take. And if nobody does it, then they're going to cut him. And then nobody's going to do it because everybody knows that he only wants to go one place. So the 49ers are going to hang on as long as they possibly can. They can do it now. June 1st deadline is passed. They can trade or release him with the rest of the dead money they owe him, and they can split it up over the next few years. But they don't have a deadline because he's still on the reserve/left squad list, which means they're not paying him. And he doesn't count against the 90-man roster. So there's really no impetus for the 49ers to act other than we just want to dissociate ourselves with this weirdo, because he is acting like a full-on weirdo.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. I kind of, in the beginning of all this, I kind of thought about, it'd be great to get a guy that, wants to play for this team, which, some players do a lot, increasingly more over the last couple of years. But he was a great receiver when he was on the field. But then as all this continues and no solution comes because they don't have to do anything because he's on that reserve left team list, I just think this guy is a loon.
Yeah, he doesn't seem like he's in a real good mental spot right now, and that's obviously something any team that would be trying to acquire him.
He also had a warrant out for a court date that he missed or something because he had a speeding ticket.
Yeah.
It was just a speeding ticket, but it was reported as like Brandon Ayuk has warrant out, and everybody was mad about that. And then he went on Instagram. It was for speeding. He went on Instagram and showed a video of him racing on a track.
Yeah.
Like, what are you doing?
Provoking at that point. All right, let's go ahead and wrap up the headlines with a playoff roundup today here on 580 Sports Talk.
It's time for the 580 Sports Talk Playoff Roundup.
Last night on Frozen Pond, the Stanley Cup final is now a best of three. Jordan Stahl scored twice as the Carolina Hurricanes defeated the Vegas Golden Knights by a score of 5-3 in Las Vegas. Series again is tied at 2 games apiece. It was another game where a big early lead slipped away. The Hurricanes led 2-0 3.5 minutes in and 3-1 after one period, but Vegas scored twice in the second to tie it at 3. Third period, scored on an empty net with 55 seconds to go to secure the win for Carolina, who started Brandon Bussey in goal for the first time in the series, deactivated the goaltender who had started all of their previous playoff games, Frederick Anderson. The goalie switch, at least for the night, appeared to work. Game 5 goes back to Carolina on Thursday. Game 4 of the NBA Finals is tonight in New York City. The Knicks lead the Spurs 2-1. There is more sniping going on through the media between Knicks owner James Dolan, New York City Mayor Zoran Mamdani, and the NYPD based upon the status of, the need for, or the inherent risks therein of outdoor watch parties around Madison Square Garden. Further proof, truly, there is no owner in professional sports that hates his own fans more than James Dolan hates Knicks fans.
Yeah.
Hates. And I don't even think it's just Knicks fans. I think he hates like regular people who aren't rich like him. Like, I just think that's just his general. Like, he really is like the closest thing we've got to like a Steve Montgomery Burns. Just hates people who aren't like his versions of Smithers. So anyway, there's all that unpleasantness that's sort of killing the vibe in the city that never sleeps. But in the arena, the Knicks have the series lead. The Spurs, though, look really good in game 3. Every game has been tight. The Knicks could be leading this series 3-0, but the Spurs could as well. I kind of feel like whoever wins tonight is going to win the series.
I think so, but I'm still convinced with this conspiracy theory that because of the fact of the last series not going too far or not going that long,
The rest want to push it.
that it's going to get pushed to 7 games. And
So-
I mean, look, there was a free day, so much so that Pat McAfee did a prime time check-in on the state of sports, and clearly everybody was mad that the leagues, the commissioners, ESPN, all the broadcast partners, they were mad there wasn't more games for advertisers to spend money on. So I'm with the conspiracy theory.
So there were a lot of free throws shot by the San Antonio Spurs in game 3, and not that many shot by the New York Knicks. It was a 10 free throw differential, 32-22. I think it was 24-8 in the second half. I can tell you honestly, so I watched second half of game 3. And so I saw the portion of the game in which there was the significant free throw disparity that Knicks coach Mike Brown was complaining about. And you know how you might not think you care who wins if you turn on a sporting event, but you'll always kind of pick a side, like in your head, whether you intend to or not, you always kind of end up picking a side. I genuinely could not do that with this game. Like I think a Spurs win is fascinating in the context of NBA history, because when you think about it, all the great ones came up short in the playoffs, even if not necessarily in the finals. They came up short in the playoffs, and then they had their breakthrough. LeBron lost in the finals twice before his first title. Jordan lost in the conference finals to Detroit, I think back-to-back years before they broke through in 91 and they had their first three. Shaq got swept out of the finals in 95 before he ripped off the three-peat with the Lakers with Kobe. That's the history of the league. You get to the playoffs and you've got to suffer some pain. You got to lose before you can win. These are Wemby's first playoffs. There is not historical precedent for a superstar player to win at the first time of asking. There just isn't. So if that happens, that's fascinating. That's uncharted territory in the history of the sport. The Knicks haven't won a title since 1973. This is the closest thing we have in another sport to the Cubs title drought that was broken in 2016. So that also is obviously fascinating and fairly uncharted in the city where basketball means more than it does in any other NBA city. With apologies to Indianapolis, who thinks they invented basketball. But no, it's New York. New York's capital of basketball. Yeah. And so this team matters to that city. They are in a way that no other team is, because think about it. NFL, Jets and Giants. Major League Baseball, Yankees and Mets. NHL, Rangers and Islanders. With all due respect to the Brooklyn Nets, the Knicks are New York's team. Yeah. So the team in the biggest city to snap a 53-year title drought, that's an incredible story. So I say all that to say this. I think it's a fascinating story, whoever wins this series. And I can watch these games with an unjaundiced eye. I truly and honestly do not care who wins. And I watched the second half of game 3, and all I got to say is to Mike Brown is, if you don't want the Spurs to shoot so many free throws, you stop fouling. Shower foul. Just don't foul so much. Yeah. Game 4 is tonight. That's our playoff roundup. We're going to take a break. We'll come back with One Gotta Go on 580 Sports Talk. One Gotta Go ballpark giveaway promotional items. The bobblehead, the t-shirt, the hat, and I'll go ahead and make a fourth other category. Like, for instance, this year the Royals have a beach towel giveaway. That's coming up in 2 nights. They are giving away a Armed Forces Day thermos. They've got a bag giveaway August 21st against the Tigers. Things like that. So those are your they got scarf. They're giving away a City Connect scarf June 19th against Cardinals. So the T-shirt, the hat, the bobblehead, or other. One got to go.
T-shirt.
Why the T-shirt?
Because I'm a bigger guy and they probably don't have a shirt size for me.
I see. Yeah, I like.
Also, when I was at Royals game, it was last year. I got like a cooler bag, and man, I use that all the time.
Yeah, those like other giveaways can be super useful, right?
Yeah, like we got 2 of them, so we leave one in the cars. And if we're going grocery shopping in one car or the other, like if we're going to multiple stores, especially now in the summer, it actually keeps things cool.
So yeah, I think the other can be.
And I love bobbleheads.
Sure.
And I like hats.
See, the hat is probably the one that's got to go for me because I'm finicky about my hats. And usually, unless it's like a really cool one, it's probably not going to find its way into the regular rotation where I'll wear a giveaway T-shirt. Like, I'm still gutted that I lost my Rafael Betancourt Rockies jersey T-shirt that I got as a giveaway at a game like 15 years ago. If I still had it, I would still wear it. I'll wear that. And then, the bobbleheads, I've got a, display of bobbleheads in my office. So those are always fun. The only thing about the bobbleheads is everybody wants one. So you have to go early to get the bobblehead. Anything else, you're probably good whenever you show up. But the bobblehead, you got to I got to be at the ballpark about 45 minutes before first pitch, feel good about getting the bobblehead. So that's the only negative about the bobblehead. But
and if it's a star player bobblehead or something rare, like, man, you're waiting forever. Like Pittsburgh, they did a Paul Skeens one. And I think the line was across the bridge and around the corner. And they did random bobbleheads. Orioles did a Tupac bobblehead.
Yeah.
Man, you couldn't get one of those. They sold out the game and everybody was there like 3 hours before the game.
Yeah. That's the only downside of the bobblehead giveaway is you have to come early.
Yeah.
The texter for the 913 asked me if I have a Kyle Freeland Rockies bobblehead. I don't. The Rockies bobbleheads I have a Larry Walker, I have a Todd Helton, I have a Charlie Blackmon. The Blackmon one I got a game I went to with my wife has real hair, which is as terrifying as it sounds. But my Royals ones, let's see if I can do it off the top of my head. I've got the Alex Gordon Gold Glove bobblehead. I've got the Whit Merrifield Whit counter. I have I have a Jeff Montgomery. I have a Danny Duffy.
Montgomery one's sitting in the studio over there.
Oh yeah, I've got one. I have one independent. Who else do I have? I Wade Davis. I went to I specifically went to the Danny Duffy and his Husky Sadie. I went to that game on purpose because I wanted that ball.
Yeah, I got a Michael Garcia. Well, he was Michael at that point.
Michael Garcia. I'm trying to get it right. I think we've been putting the emphasis on the wrong syllable.
Well, I've got one of those. Garcia. I purposefully went to that game because I wanted to get a Royals bobblehead.
Yeah, the bobblehead. The other one got to go?
Yeah, in light of the World Cup. Big sporting events that are like the world stage. One's got to go. The World Cup, the World Baseball Classic, or the newfound one in the NHL, the Four Nations.
Run those by me again. I'm sorry.
World Cup, the World Baseball Classic, and or the Four Nations face-off.
So one of those got to go?
Yes.
Probably the Four Nations, not because it wasn't like exhilarating hockey, but because there's only a week where the World Cup's a month long. World Baseball lasts 2-3 weeks.
See, I've got two answers. One way. The World Baseball Classic just doesn't make sense timing-wise, and it screws things up for the ramp-up period, I think, or it, lingers players later and does things. But my main one is, I'm just not a soccer guy. I don't like the World Cup over everything. I like to go to Kansas City from time to time. I'm not going to Kansas City this summer.
I get it. What I have loved about the World Cup is all this content, people visiting the United States for the first time. I saw this great video of a gentleman from New Zealand who visited a CVS and says, I can't believe they call this a pharmacy. Like, I understand that it's a pharmacy, but at what kind of pharmacy can you buy the medicine and the stuff that made you sick? Why can you buy a macaroni cheese, he says in his New Zealand accent. Why can you buy a macaroni cheese at the pharmacy? I mean, I'm going to, but why? And you know what? Good question. We'll take a break. We'll come back with more of 580 Sports Talk. Welcome back to 580 Sports Talk. Dan and Spencer with you. We have had two separate offers on the text line, 785-272-9429. Two separate offers to acquire bobbleheads. One listener trying to sell Spencer or I a bobblehead. And here's the thing about that. Like, I bet it's cool.
Yeah.
But I am not the kind of collector that's going to pay for one. Like, if he comes with a ticket I bought, sick. But I'm not here to pay for a bobblehead.
I once got
we know someone who is a diehard collector of bobbleheads. Gene Castle, sports information director at Washburn, has an incredible collection. And I'll bet he's paid for one or two, time or two.
Yeah.
But I'm not so like I'm not gonna pay for a bobblehead.
Yeah, what was I lost my train of thought there. But one time I got a Nats one. I missed the Anthony Rendon Garden Gnome Day. But I guess they ordered too many. Somebody added an extra 0. So they ended up selling them in the team shop if you buy a jersey shirt.
Oh.
So
you buy one, get an item free?
Yeah, so I bought the jersey. And then anytime the Caps do ones, and my brother-in-law's sister go, my brother-in-law is a Bruins fan.
Mm-hmm.
So I automatically get any giveaways the Caps do.
Nice.
For when he goes. So I usually get a box at the end of the season with a bunch of stuff in it.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
The Royals are not giving away a bobblehead tonight. I am trying to figure out.
I think yesterday was dollar hot dog night.
Yeah. Next bobblehead night for the Royals is July 4th. It's the Red, White, and Bobby bobblehead giveaway. You see the commercial? You watch the games on Royals TV, and they run the commercial like every other inning. It's like meant to be like an 80s, 90s toy commercial send up where they're all collecting the bobbleheads. And I walk around the house singing the song. Baseball bobbleheads, baseball bobbleheads. So, yeah. Anyway, no bobblehead tonight, but there is baseball at Kauffman Stadium as the Royals and the Rangers play game 2 of their 3-game series. Pre-game coverage coming up in 9 minutes here on 580 WIBW and FM 104.9. Royals will look to stay hot. Seth Lugo on the bump. Not great his last time out. Hoping to bounce back. The right-hander will be backed by this lineup tonight. Lane Thomas starting in center field against the lefty Mackenzie Gore. He'll lead off. If you missed the news earlier today, Kyle Isbell placed on the 10-day injured list with left plantar fasciitis. And that is an injury that can wreck your season. And so we're hoping can sidetrack your career for sure. So hoping for the best for Kyle Isbell. Cameron Meisner, the former Missouri Tiger, called up from AAA Omaha. I would suspect we'll see him against a right-handed pitcher in center field. But it's Lane Thomas tonight in center, then Bobby Witt Jr. at short, Michael Garcia at third, Salvador Perez catching and batting cleanup, then Vinny Pasquantino at first, Starling Marte DHing batting sixth, Jack Caglianone, who now has a higher slugging percentage against lefties than righties, back in the lineup against the lefty in right field, Nick Lofton at second base, and Isaac Collins in left. Yeah, 3 points higher.
I know. They're actually playing him versus the left.
You homer against the lefty, you better play against the next one you see. That's what I say. The lineup for the Rangers tonight in support of the left-hander Mackenzie Gore. Jock Peterson, the DH, leads off, followed by Corey Seager at short, Josh Young at third, Brandon Nimmo batting cleanup in right field, Wyatt Langford in left. Ezekiel Duran plays first base tonight and bats sixth. Evan Carter is the center fielder. Kyle Higashioka does the catching. And former Royal and Royal killer, when these two teams met in Arlington a bit ago, Nicky Lopez bats ninth at second base. That's where the Royals were a week and a half ago. They were getting their butts kicked by Nicky Lopez. And then the calendar flipped, and they've been a completely different team in the month of June. Long may it continue. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. We'll put a wrap on this edition of 580 Sports Talk with the final word. Time to put a wrap on this edition of 580 Sports Talk. We do so, as always, with a final word. Spencer Dupuis, what you got?
Yeah, just talking about Jack Caglianone doing better lately against the lefties than the righties. It's great to see him at the plate last night. Took that 11-pitch walk. Then those two homers. Looks like he's having fun, but man, he is a liability in right field sometimes. The route he took to that ball, I think I could have taken a better route to that ball. I don't know, man. When are we going to get he's a DH or moving him to first base discussion, because he's become a liability out there and right.
I think his arm makes him enough of a plus out there that you're willing to live with the occasional misplay. He's still this basically second year of learning how to play the outfield. And the arm is such a weapon. Like, I think when right field, you're willing to live with the occasional misplay. You'll trade that for an arm that can keep a runner from scoring from first on a single or taking an extra base from first to third. Certainly, though, a work in progress. And, we saw the downside of that last night. But I'd say he more than made up for it at the plate for sure. Final word for me today. It is a little ironic that for the first time in its existence, people are sympathetic towards the NCAA. And all it took was for the red line rule in sports. You bet on your own team and you got to go, to be ignored by a district judge. And for the NCAA to be unable to enforce the one rule that everybody in sports understands you have to enforce and you have to have zero tolerance about, regardless of how young the person is in question, regardless of the dollar amount that was bet, regardless of whether or not the person is an addict with a gambling problem. You have to enforce with zero tolerance the gambling rule that says if you bet on your own team, you are persona non grata and you cannot play. Everybody understands that that has to be the rule. The NCAA's inability to enforce their own rule as decided by a judge, well, that might be the last straw and the thing that finally convinces everybody that the NCAA does need to have some serious power. Maybe it's right that Congress gives it to them, or maybe, just maybe, the NCAA needs to call its players employees and collectively bargain. You could get there a lot faster and you don't have to count on Ted Cruz that way. Just something for food for thought for Charlie Baker. We're back tomorrow after Royals baseball. Until then, for Spencer, I'm Dan. This was 580 Sports Talk. Good night.